Welcome to the March 16th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I would request that everyone please turn off or mute all electronic devices. Also, I'd ask each one of you to please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Applications for temporary fireworks stands heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The vote on these temporary fireworks stands will be final. Only a recommendation for denial would be heard by the County Council at their Monday, April the 11th, 2022 meeting. Applications for conditional use permit request and rezoning request heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the Commission, and the Commission will make a recommendation to the County Council. The applications will then be scheduled to be introduced before the County Council at their Monday, April the 11th, 2022 County Council meeting. Public comment for conditional use permit requests will be taken during tonight's meeting and at the council meeting on Monday, April the 11th, 2022. Public comment on conditional use permit applications will not, I repeat, will not be taken at any meeting of the County Council held thereafter. Applications for preliminary plats heard during tonight's meeting will be also voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during tonight's meeting. The vote on preliminary plats is final. Only a recommendation for denial of a preliminary plat would be heard during the County Council at their Monday, April the 11th, 2022 meeting. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. Okay, I see we have a quorum. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. There are no changes or additions to tonight's agenda. Before we start, I will give you a brief rundown as to how our meetings operate. I will read into the record the application. We'll ask the applicant, we'll have a report from staff. Then we will ask the applicant to come forward, present their application, answer any questions that the commission may have. Then we will open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak regarding the application, pro or con, can come forward. I will put you under oath. You're limited to 3 minutes. Cannot give any remaining time to someone else. Your comments are to be directed to the commission. Okay. Once we have closed the public hearing, the commission will take no further public comments on that particular application. Once the public hearing is closed, we'll ask the applicant to come back, address any issues that may arise out of the public hearing, and then the commission will consider the application and take a vote. So that's sort of a pretty quick rundown as how our meeting operates. Tonight, the reason we started an hour early is we have 10 fireworks stands. It's going to be here sooner than we know. Applications to approve. This will hopefully go pretty quick. So first item on our agenda is a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 916 O'Brien Road. The application is FWK 2201. Property owner applicant is Wesley Godar. Zoning is C2 General Commercial District. Locations on the east side of O'Brien Road, approximately 620 feet north of Veterans Memorial Parkway, adjacent to the city of O'Fallon, located in Council District 4. Staff.
I believe we need to address the fireworks stand regulations first. So as far as I'm aware, there was no changes to last year's fireworks regulations.
Correct.
So I think we do need to adopt those, don't we?
Move for approval of the 2022 regulations.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2022 firework regulations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Barr. Is there a second? Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the 2022 fireworks regulation. All in favor, sign aye. Aye. They pass. Okay. Oh, I overlooked that. Cool. Okay. Now back to our applications. The first is FWK 22-01. The property owner is Wesley Godar. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. Location is on the east side of O'Brien Road, approximately 620 feet north of Veterans Memorial Parkway, adjacent to the city of O'Fallon, located in Council District 4. Staff.
Okay. So for this particular property, it is located in the same location that it was located in last year. We have received no complaints on the property, and there were no letters or comments from the community on this application.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Will the applicant come forward?
Hello.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or in the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Wes Godar, number 2, Godar Court, O'Fallon, Missouri.
Okay. Say anything different from last year to this
Nope.
year at this location?
Exactly the same way.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 916 O'Brien Road, which is FWK 22-01. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon, 63366. It's great to see you all from a month reprieve since something was on the agenda last month. In terms of the fireworks stand regulations, if I interpret state law correctly, I believe under Chapter 89, that there should have been a public hearing on those regulations to allow the public to comment on this period and on these regulations. Because the commission currently doesn't have a public comment for general items that don't have a public hearing on the agenda, I think it's only wise to allow the public to comment on those regulations. Now, we all need to enjoy the July holiday while preserving peace, quality of life, and property rights. Public health, safety, and welfare is the number one priority here. The safety of the tents. The tent should be built to withstand 70-mile-an-hour winds. They need to be secured to the ground properly. Traffic safety needs to be upheld. Adequate parking with Americans with Disabilities Act spaces. Restrooms provided. Trash and debris recycling should be taken care of in some fashion or form, so we don't have blowing debris all around the community or neighborhood. No shooting off of fireworks on the premises. No loud noises to interrupt the neighborhood and quality of life. Security of the premise, so there's no theft. No underage sales of anyone under the age of 18 or minors. Liability and medical insurance or sufficient bonding requirements need to be put up with the county so we know that they're properly insured. Restore the property to its original condition by October. The regulations, in the fireworks regulations, they state no flashing lights, no directing traffic from the roadway onto their premise. I would hope that that would be upheld by county police. And a traffic plan is required to be filed with the county. Now, I have an issue with the hours of operation. Currently, the regulations state 8 p.m. till 9 p.m., and then 5 days before July 4th, it changes from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Yes, that's correct. I would like to propose, I think I have that backwards. I think it's 10 to 11, and then it's 10 to 12:30 a.m. And I would like to propose that we have something normal, rational to our other business community, to the restaurants and other shopping centers, that it be 8 a.m. till 9 p.m., and I think that's reasonable. I think to have it past 9 p.m. is just disruptive to the neighborhood and to adjoining residential districts. I also would encourage pop-up inspections by our county code enforcement, by our county building inspectors, and of course by our county police bomb squad, because I think it's very important for the safety of these facilities. Mr. Chairman, those are my comments for this individual application. I would ask that my comments also go on the record for each and every succeeding application, unless I have a special requirement that I don't get up and speak then.
We will have your comments for the record on all the other proceeding applications.
Sure. Okay. Thank
Thank you.
If there's any questions or,
Nope.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak this public hearing regarding FWK 22-01? Anyone? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, ask the applicant to come back. Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
How many years have you operated this?
This will be my 13th year.
And have there been any complaints? Okay.
No, I've been at this location for, I think this is my 6th or 7th year.
Okay.
It's at a dead-end street, it's across from apartments, and I own the house closest to it, so,
Okay, very good. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Chair will, any questions, excuse me, getting ahead of myself. Any questions from the commission? Any questions of staff? Chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-01. Is there a motion?
Motion? So moved.
Cornwell made the motion, Mr. Clary made the second. Ms. Barr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
I vote yes. Next on our agenda is temporary, it passed. Temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit, FWK 22-02 is located at 58 West Highway Inn. The applicant is Jason and Camilla Collins. The property owner is Stanley and Beth Carter. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. Locations on the south side of West Highway Inn, approximately 350 feet west of Barron Road, near the city of Wentzville, located in Council District 2. Staff.
Same as with the last one, this fireworks stand is in the same location as it was last year. We've received no complaints about the property, and there were no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? We'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Waymeyer. My address is 18 Hidden Hills Drive, St. Charles, Missouri, 62303. I am part owner of Old Glory Fireworks.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for FWK 22-02, fireworks stand located at 58 West Highway Inn. Is anyone wishing to speak? Mr. Dinoff's comments from the prior app will be part of this application. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Anyone have any questions for the applicant? Do you need to bring him back? Okay. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Chair will entertain a motion to approve Temporary fireworks stand, conditional use permit located at 58 West Highway N. This is FWK 22-02. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Barr made the second. Mr. Cleary, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
I vote yes. That application passes. Next on our agenda is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 701 Lucan House Boulevard. This is application FWK 22-03. The applicant is Marty J. Fears, registered agent and organizer of Show Me Fireworks LLC. The property owner is Bremer Properties LLC. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. The location is at the intersection of Wall Street and Lucan House Boulevard, adjoining the city of Wentzville. This is located in Council District 1. Staff.
So this one is located in the same position it was last year. We have received no complaints, and there are no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. If the applicant is here, is not here. Okay, we will open a public hearing for FWK 22-03. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Mr. Denoff's comments will be part of the record for this application. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments? Chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-03 temporary fireworks conditional use permit located at 701 Lucan House Boulevard. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Due to Mr. Fromm, motion by Mr. Fromm. Mr.
Second.
There you go, get your name in the records here. Mr. Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Cleary?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion passes. Next on our agenda is a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 1429 Granville Drive. The application is FWK 22-04. The applicant is Marty J. Fears, registered agent and organizer of Show Me Fireworks LLC. Property owners Gerald A. Bomer and Judith A. Bamer, Family Partnership LP. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. The location is on the east side of Granville Drive, approximately 170 feet from Highway 4061, adjacent to the city of O'Fallon, located in Council District 1. Staff.
This particular location is located in the same position it was last year. We've received no complaints, and no letters or comments are from the community.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing for application FWK 22-04, a temporary fireworks stand located at 1429 Granville Drive. Is there anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C., AC Dnoff, County Public Advocate. Mailing address is P.O. Box 1535 in O'Fallon. And I'm a big person on ethics. We have a commissioner who may be or may not be related to these owners of the property. I would ask, because of ethics and just to be on the up and up, that this commissioner recuse themselves from this vote. And I think that's the proper thing to do under state law, under Missouri ethic regulations, and our home rule county charter. I feel that when there's a personal stake or personal financial interest, that commissioner shall recuse himself, and they really should have removed themselves from the discussion and the room totally. That's how it's usually done in most governmental bodies. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I'd want to put them on the record.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing for FWK 22-04? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, bring this back to the commission. Any questions, comments?
Just for the record, Mr. Dinhoff, as I did last year, I abstained from the vote for this as well because it is related to my family, and I told them before I walked in that I'd be abstaining from the vote.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-04, temporary fireworks stand, conditional use permit located at 1429 Granville. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Jackson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cornwall, the second. Ms. Bamer.
Abstain.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this application passes. Next on our agenda is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 21 East Highway N. This is application FWK 22-06. The applicant is Merrimack Specialty Company. The property owner is the Baker Family Company 2 LLC. Zoning is C2 General Commercial District. Location is on the northeast corner of Highway N and Highway Z near the city of Wentzville, located in Council District 2. Staff.
This tent will be located in the same position it was last year. We have not received any complaints on the property, and there were no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we will we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tom Dixon, mailing address P.O. Box 305, Arnold, Missouri 63010.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Hearing no questions for the applicant. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for FWK 22-06, which is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 21 East Highway N. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Mr. Dinoff's prior comments will be made part of the record for this application. Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll close the public hearing, bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments? Chair will entertain a motion to approve application FWK 22-06, temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 21 East Highway N. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Fromm made the motion. Is there a second? Ms. Bamer made the second. Mr. Clary, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this application passes. Next on our agenda is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 2301 Upper Bottom Road. The application is FWK 22-07. The applicant is Merrimack Specialty Company. The property owner is Taco Upper Bottom Road LLP. Got an extra L in there. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. Location is on the northwest corner of Upper Bottom Road and Highway 364 near the city of St. Charles, located in Council District 7. Staff.
Okay, this tent will be located in the same position it was last year. We have received no complaints on the property and no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we will ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mailing address, Tom Dixon, mailing address P.O. Box 305, Arnold, Missouri 63010.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 2301 Upper Bottom Road. The application is FWK 22-07. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone? Mr. Dinoff's comments, prior comments will be made part of the record. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing for FWK 22-07. Bring it back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-07. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Clary made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Shell made the second. Mr. Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Cleary?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this application passes. Next on our agenda is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 3707 Veterans Memorial Parkway. The application is FWK 22-08. The applicant is Merrimack Specialty Company. The property owner is 3707 Veterans Memorial Parkway Holdings, LLC. The zoning is C2, General Commercial District. The location is on the southeast corner of Arco Drive and Veterans Memorial Parkway, adjoining the city of St. Charles. This is located in Council District 5. Staff.
Okay, the tent will be located in the same position it was last year. We've received no complaints, and we also have no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. We have to do this for every application.
That's okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tom Dixon, P.O. Box 305, Arnold, Missouri 63010.
Any questions for Mr. Dixon? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for FWK 22-08, which is a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 3707 Veterans Memorial Parkway. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this conditional use permit? Seeing no one, Mr. Dinoff's prior comments will be made part of the record regarding this application. We will close the public hearing and bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-08. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Cornwell made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll give that one to Mr. Jackson. All right. Mr. Shell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this application passes. Phew. How many more we get? Oh, okay.
Only 30 more.
Next item on our agenda is a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 1250 Mexico Road. The application is FWK 22-09. The applicant is Merrimack Specialty Realty. The property owner is JMZ III Real, LLC. The zoning is L1 Light Industrial District. The location's on the northwest corner of the intersection of Mexico Road and Highway A, adjacent to the city of Wentzville. This is located in Council District 1. Staff.
This tent will also be located in the same location as it was last year. We've received no complaints and no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we will, or hearing none, we will ask the applicant to come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Mailing address, P.O. Box 305, Arnold, Missouri 63010. Name, Tom Dixon.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Dixon? Hearing no questions, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for FWK 22-09, temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 1250 Mexico Road. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application for a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit? Seeing no one, Mr. Dinoff's comments, prior comments will maybe be made part of the record regarding this application. We'll bring this back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-09. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Shell made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bamer made the second. Ms. Barr, brother. Mr. Bamer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this application passes. We're going to do it. Let me get this done. Oh, we only got two more. Next on our agenda is temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 3120 West Clay Street. The application is FWK 22-10. The applicant is Bad Boys Fireworks, J. Davidson. The property owner is TGL Properties LLC. The zoning is C2 General Commercial District. The location is on the northeast corner of the intersection of West Clay and Golfway Street near the city of St. Charles, located in Council District 6. Staff.
This tent will be located in the same position it was last year. We have received no complaints, but we do have one letter of opposition from the community.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we will ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings on the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Craig Applegate, 3700 Killarney Court, St. John, Missouri, 63114.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Were you in this location last year?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 3120 West Clay Street. The application FWK 22-10. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone? Seeing no one, Mr. Dinoff's prior comments will be made part of the record for this application. We'll close the public hearing. Anyone on the commission have any questions, comments, concern regarding this application? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve FWK 22-10. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cornwell made the second. Mr. Fromm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote, Mr. Cornwell, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, almost
It's okay.
forgot you. How could I forget you? And I vote yes. Okay, that application passes. Okay, last but not least. Next on our agenda is a temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 5706 Lake St. Louis Boulevard. The application is FWK 22-11. The applicant is Bad Boys Fireworks, J. Davidson. The property owner is the Inertia School of Dance. The zoning is C1 Neighborhood Commercial District. This is on the east side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard, 825 feet north of Hawk Ridge Trail near the city of Lake St. Louis, located in Council District 2. Staff.
Okay. This tent is located in the same place it was last year. We've received no complaints, and there are no letters or comments from the community.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Craig Applegate, 3700 Killarney Court, St. John, Missouri, 63114.
Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir. We will now open the public hearing for FWK 22-11, which is a conditional use permit for a temporary fireworks stand located at 5706 Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone? Seeing no one, Mr. Dinoff's prior comments will be made part of the record for this application. Okay, any questions for the commission? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve temporary fireworks stand conditional use permit located at 5706 Lake St. Louis Boulevard. This is application FWK 22-11. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Shell made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Barr made the second. Ms. Bamer, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote yes, and that application passes. Okay.
So if you're for the fireworks stands and you want to leave, go ahead
Yeah.
now, if you want to go.
Okay. I'm taking water.
Flew through that one.
And we even picked up time. Okay, now, where are we at?
Benny Road.
Yeah. The next item on our agenda is a conditional use permit request located at 4180 Benny Road. This is application number CUP 21-21. Property owners are Lynn P. Melson and Tamara T. Melson Revocable Qualified Spousal Trust. The current zoning is A agricultural district. The conditional use permit request is a private school. The parcel size is 5 acres. The location is on the south side of Benny Road, a half-mile east of Highway D. This is located in Council District 2. Staff.
Okay, as stated, can you hear me okay? As stated, the proposal is for a private school, and rather than being allowed by right in the agricultural zoning district, which is how this property is zoned, the county's zoning regulations require that this be approved through a conditional use permit so that the public can have a chance to review the land use impacts for neighbors. When you think of a school, there's a gigantic spectrum of school sizes and school impacts. Just to let you know right off at the beginning here, that they're proposing a school of 20 students or up to 20 students. So my comments will be along those lines so that you'll understand. Obviously, private schools can be hundreds, if not potentially thousands of students, and those have all sorts of impacts, including parking and queuing of parents dropping off kids, and whether it's a high school, then you have a lot more parking needs and school buses and et cetera. But again, this is a private school for up to 20 children. The location is on the south side of Benny Road, and it's actually it's within a subdivision technically called a Freedom Ranch subdivision, was just platted in December. And that gave us county staff a little pause because the application was turned in just days after the plat was approved, and it wasn't even on the maps yet, but we've got all that behind us now. We've got the parcel identified for you. We have notification maps and letters that have gone out correctly. The location does not have public sewer or water, so they're proposing on the western half, I'll call it, of the property to have a on-site sewage disposal drain field and also a water well as well. So the building codes have some setbacks between, or separations between those two. We won't have to deal with that here, but just to let you know, there are some county rules that have to do with that. So on the, what I'll call the east side of the property of that 5 acres, you've got a, do you have the concept plan?
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it. On the east side, the concept is to have a building that's 300 feet long and about 65 feet wide that will be utilized for a private teaching facility. Students will be family and children of owners' employees. I don't have more information than that in terms of their internal structure or operations. I'm sure the applicants can tell you more about that. They're stating that this school will have a maximum of 20 students at full capacity with 3 teachers. It will include classrooms, an indoor recreation area / tennis court, and storage area. Just so you know, under the building code, I'm understanding that the building will need to either be sprinklered, which would be difficult if you have on-site well for water source, or the tennis court area, that recreation area, there's a way that you can put a firewall in there, separate the 2 areas, and so you won't have to sprinkler the building. You don't have to worry about that, but I just mentioned that because that's something that the applicant should be aware of, and it's doable, but I wanted to make it people aware of that. One of the impacts that we always encounter, or usually encounter with schools, is how to deal with not just parking and traffic, but also recreation areas. In this case, they're proposing a soccer field just south of the building, soccer practice field. When I first saw this, my first concern was, is this going to be open to public events? Will there be bleachers? Will there be concession stands and loudspeakers? Will lights be affecting neighbors? That was my first concern. So in this case, they have addressed that by stating that it's a practice field for the kids. There's only going to be 20 students anyway. I mean, maybe there may be some additional kids that they're, another team possibly that they're playing against, but really it's a practice field. Also, you'll see that there's a landscape buffer that's located around the east, south, and west side. Also, the county's regulations for light poles has a limit of 20 feet in height, and we're suggesting some ways that you could deal with light impacts as well as noise impacts as part of conditions. In terms of parking, it does meet the minimum parking requirements. So I would say probably that's your consideration. If you want to look on the staff report at the 4 conditional use permit criteria, I think you'd be best to focus on those and think about what the land use impacts would be for neighbors. Would the conditional use be detrimental to or endanger public health, safety, or general welfare? Would the conditional use injure the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted or to the aesthetic and or scenic values of the vicinity? Would the conditional use substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood? Would establishment of the conditional use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district? One other thing I would mention is that the location of this proposed conditional use, they would take access from a public road, Benny Road, rather than internally from within the private street within the subdivision. And I wanted to point that out because occasionally we'll have conditional use permits that want to be located back in the corner of a subdivision somewhere. It would draw commercial traffic, I'll call it, through that residential neighborhood. But this is instead the access is to Benny Road. County staff recommends approval with specific conditions for your consideration. There's 8 conditions that we're suggesting that you have first as a starting point. To address one phone call that I received, and by the way, we have 2 letters of opposition from the Vermettes and Marcia Gay, as well as 3 letters of concern from the Clements, the Bennies, and the Grangers. But to get back to the comment that I received from a phone call, we were suggesting that there be a maximum number of students enrolled at any one time shall be 50. That number 50 is an arbitrary number. It could be 20 because that's what they're applying for, but I was suggesting leaving some flexibility in case you have, let's just say you have a family and they have 4 children and they're already at 20, and they could accept 3 but not 4, something like that. I was suggesting that to leave a little bit of flexibility for the applicants, but still have some predictability for neighbors. In other words, if you have a CUP without any sort of limitations on the number of kids, could this potentially, an applicant can come back with 400 students or 1,000 students or whatever instead of the number that they proposed in order to get the CUP. So,
Any questions for staff?
I've got a couple. What ages of kids are these going to be?
the applicant's going to address that.
Oh, okay. And you talked about the sprinkler systems and it being on a well system. And looking at some of the letters of opposition and some things like that, there was a big issue on water availability already for people who live there, and then putting in a place for another 20 or 50 people, and then thinking of a sprinkler system. Is that a concern?
No, as long as they can deal with the question about the fire code in terms of, I'm guessing there's going to have to be a firewall separation rather than, there is a way to do sprinklers into wells, but it's more costly and difficult to do. But to answer your question, no.
Okay.
I will add to that, you might remember that across the street, the brew house that has a conditional use permit, and that was approved several years ago. The county council has approved several extensions for conditional use permits that were about to expire during the pandemic. However, we still do not have plans in for that project, and that CUP expiration date is now at the end of May. So that facility across the road, basically, that brew house, they were going to use well water, and that would have been a large consumer of water, but I'm thinking that that's out now, because I cannot imagine that that will get approved before the end of May. That's not to say that the applicants for the brew house couldn't come back later, I suppose, and reapply, but that would have been, in that case, they actually said they were going to be drawing from a deeper aquifer rather than the upper aquifer where most folks in this area
Right.
come from. But I just wanted to throw that in there so you would know that.
I've got a question as well. I know you had mentioned Benny Road, and I obviously am very familiar. What type of traffic, do we do a traffic impact on this? And, I mean, I know it's 18 parking spots, right? But is that something that the county highway has considered in that area?
No, the county highway department, we had them review this. They didn't have any comments. Now, I will say, when you get down on the curve farther west, if this were on the curve, there would be more concern about putting a driveway close to that curve. But I believe that this proposed driveway is far enough from that curve that the sight distance is much better than been farther west. But just in terms of traffic generation, 18 parking spaces, I don't think, excuse me, that's going to present a problem in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Traffic
Capacity.
flow or-
Right.
Capacity.
And I don't know that 18 parking spots at 8 a.m. when kiddos are coming to school will, because of the limited number of kids. But I just thought about the situation of, I got two teams that are out here practicing doing a scrimmage game on a Saturday morning, and you got increased flow of traffic
Yeah.
of kids getting dropped off and in and out. And you're right, it is, I mean, we saw the picture. It's very close to a 90-degree turn, so
And it's a narrow pavement width too,
very narrow.
from what I remember.
It is.
If we want to, since I don't know the age of the kids and who's going to be practicing, and are they going to be renting out the fields to other teams to come do those things, I read there were some concerns about 11 p.m. and for soccer at night for kids who are in 1st to 4th grade, yeah, 11 p.m. does seem a little bit late. So can we adjust that
Oh, yeah.
after we find out about more of the kids?
Those are just recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah, those are just suggestions as a starting point
Okay.
for discussion purposes.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we ask the applicant to come forward.
Hello.
Okay, are you both going to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll need to swear both of you in. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your names and addresses for the record.
Patrick Melson, 9716 Avondale Hills Lane, Winsville, Missouri.
Gary Kimball, 4053 North St. Peter's Parkway, St. Peter's.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just civil with this, and he's the owner, so if we have your concerns about the children, he's going to be able to answer those for you.
So, go ahead.
So do you have I mean,
Yes, so what will the age of the kids be?
between the ages of 3 to 14, but only because my grandkids are 3. So after that, once the grandkids get older, more age is from like kindergarten till they start high school. So they would end in 8th grade.
Okay. And will there be buses?
I'm sorry?
Will there be buses at all?
No, so the first 8 children live in the subdivision. So the Freedom Ranch isn't a subdivision, it's 3 houses. My house is on 25 acres, and my kids will each be on 10 acres. And so where you see the soccer field and the trees, my son's property is adjacent to that. So the subdivision only has 3 houses. You can't hardly see a house from this building if you looked really hard. So as far as impact, and in the beginning, the only kids that will be going there are my grandkids. And then I will open it up to members of my, so this year, I mean, I own a business here in St. Charles. I have a lot of people that couldn't come to work because they were home with their kids. It was very disruptive, quite honestly, for the last 2 years. I think it's disruptive for the kids. I think it's disruptive for the business. So I'm really just trying to offer a place. That's why I say 20 students, because it's not, I'm not trying to, it's a non-for-profit. I'm not trying to make money on a school. I'm just trying to get kids educated and offer a place where we can keep consistency of education. My oldest grandchild's 5, my youngest one's in the belly, and I have 7 of them, and the 8th one on the way. So I'm just trying to offer a place where we can have consistent education. So in the beginning, those parking spots will never be used. Once I open it up to kids, and I don't really want to do that for a year, and I only say that because I've never owned a school before, and I'm going to hire people to do this, obviously, but I want to make sure that it's good and consistent before other parents would come along, because if they didn't like it, I wouldn't really want them to complain about it. I'd like to get it right before we, I mean, I can test it on my grandchildren, I guess.
Gotcha. Do you plan on renting out or loaning the fields for other teams other than just your team?
No, I do not. And I don't really have a team. That's why it was kind of, it's more of an activity field for kids. And I grew up playing, I played college soccer. So, I mean, I hope they're going to play soccer. I don't even know if they're going to play soccer. It's really more of a recreational field. I just wanted to make sure I got the use determined in case I did want to do it for that. I didn't want to have to come back and really go through the process again, to be honest with you.
So to clarify, this is a school for your grandchildren.
Well, it's
and
not
then
just, not just
you
my
all-
grandchildren,
what
but
is the
employees
business?
of my business, correct.
What is your business?
Midtown Home Improvements.
Oh, sure.
So
Familiar
we're a
with
pretty
that.
good-sized
Okay.
home improvement company in town.
So
We have-
some of the employees, they weren't able to come to work because their kids were home and they had to
Most
stay
definitely.
home with
That
them?
was, yeah, that was the rule. I
So
mean, if
this
they're-
is kind of a situation where you're just trying to provide stability and for them so that they have a place to go.
It is.
Almost not necessarily a daycare per
Right.
se, but,
And really, I pledged 20 years, so I pledged a certain amount of money that I would give away for the next 20 years that will more than fully fund this school.
Okay.
So it'll be more than just mine, because I think you should give back to a little bit more, but it will be for the employees as well. And it doesn't mean that there couldn't be somebody who's outside of my work that could, not bring their kids there, but that's my main use. That's my main purpose as to why I got started down this road, honestly.
And so, question here, so initially, the application was for 20 students with the potential of going up to 50. In your estimation, given that you're testing this out on your grandkids and your employees, what is really the realistic number that you think you would have?
No, the kids my grandkids are the test. The employees will come later, and I don't really, my budget will be somewhere between my budget will be 3 teachers. I know how much money I'm putting in. I know what budget teachers are going to get paid, and I know the things that I want to be able to do. So it's really a budget limitation unless I can, fundraise, which I don't intend to do. So this has been far more work than I thought it was going to be just to build a school in the first place. Yeah. So it's way over my head where I'm at right now. But it's not my goal to have 50 kids. It's my goal to really educate my grandkids, and then help out employees that work with me. Because the next thing is, it's not just that, but the cost of, I don't know if you know what it costs. My daughter has 4 children. It costs her $5,000 a month to send these kids to school, to daycare and school. I'm like, and they're 4 and under. I don't even know how people can afford that, but I mean, it's craziness to me. So it won't cost them anywhere near that, because I'm intending to fund the school.
Now, will you be subject to any state education regulations?
I assume that I'm going to be honest with you, until I can get through this, it's going to take me 8 months to get a building after you guys hopefully say yes, right? So I mean, like I said, I was hoping to be done by now, but to even get that far down the road, I can't order a building until I get a use, right? Because the building cost me a couple $1 million. So, I mean, once I say yes to them, I have to follow through with that. So I haven't even got that far, but I mean, I own several businesses. I'm pretty good at putting the right people in charge, and they're going to educate my grandchildren. So I will hire the best people that I can find to put them in charge of education.
Ms. Barr, didn't you homeschool?
I did, yes, for 19 years.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And my kids this is the first year they're in a very small private school, about 12 kids.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of my goal, is to keep classrooms class sizes very small.
Are there, best of my knowledge, there's not any specific state regulations on homeschool, is there?
There are, yes, for homeschooling. The biggest one is that they have to have 1,000 hours that you're supposed to keep track of.
Yeah.
And then, so if he was just doing his grandkids, not 100%, typically with homeschooling, it's the parents or the grandparents, and typically they're not paid. I'm not 100% familiar with whether you can hire someone to do that. If it's just his grandkids, it may very well be considered a homeschool.
I've had friends that did last year
until he
during the
brings-
issue where they hired,
Yeah.
4 or 5 of them got together and they hired
Right.
people to come over and educate their children because their kids were out of school. I mean,
Right.
you know.
So being that it's just a family, it might initially be considered a homeschool until other people come in, yeah.
Okay.
Would there be any reason you could ever see that it would go to 50? I mean, like Robert said, 20 with relatives, I can't imagine 20 would be.
Well, you know, the kids will age out too. So, I mean, and here, did I tell you I live on that 25 acres and the 10
Yeah,
acres
you
and the 10
mentioned
acres?
that.
So there's a reason why it's not coming in through the subdivision, because I didn't want it to. So I have no more interest in bringing in a lot of people than anybody else here, because I'm moving out to those. If you stood on those 50 acres and you looked around, I don't know, you say you're familiar out there, there's nothing out there, guys.
So 20 is what you're fine with?
The 25 acres on the other side is
I
my.
mean, 20 for the re-enrollment.
Oh,
Is what
20,
you're comfortable
I mean, you know, could there be 30 students? I don't know. There's 3 teachers. So if you theoretically said even 12 kids per teacher, then could it, I mean, I think that there'll never be 50 because that sounds like a real headache to me. And I don't think the funding is there to be able to provide for that many students. And I want to make sure I can provide for the students that are going to be there with as low of a cost and low of an impact to their parents as I possibly can, because, you know, I have people that work for me that, you know, they don't make $300,000 a year. So when they start putting their kids into school, it's very expensive. If you guys have kids at this age, you would see. I'm just lucky I don't have kids at this age anymore, because I don't know how they do it.
Would you be okay then if we limited it to 30 students? Would that be a problem for you?
No, it doesn't really, I don't see that going beyond that. If it did, I would come back and repetition you if something happened. And quite frankly, if I came back and repetition and I was providing an education for that many people, I'd fill this whole place with their parents and you would have no choice but to say yes. So, I mean, but at this stage of the game, I just really need to get I really need to get a building ordered. I really need, and evidently I got a whole bunch of other things. And I know about the firewall and I'm in the construction business, so I intend to build a firewall. That part I did understand. And I think the impact on water, I mean, I live out there I have a well, I live 2 miles down the road here right now. People watering their lawn all over the place has far more impact on our wells than what is gonna happen in that school, I can assure you that.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, because Robert, he could, since this is zone agriculture, he could build this building if he wanted to be a barn, couldn't he?
Right, yes.
Yeah, but you can't do over 4,800 square feet, trust me, this is how I'm here.
Yeah.
So anything over 4,800 square feet, you have to find out a use permit, and then that's how we got to here. Because I won't say I would have done it like that in the first place,
Yeah.
that would just been the way, and it would have been homeschool, but that might have been the way I was trying to do it, but that's not the way we are now.
Okay.
Yeah, there's large storage buildings, personal storage buildings, I'll call them, and also agricultural buildings can be built in the agricultural zoning district, and that's not uncommon. In fact, some of these agricultural buildings we've had them like 100 feet by 200 feet, you know, when you talked about heavy equipment storage and things like that, so.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Did you talk to the people that had concerns and opposition by chance? Have you talked to them?
I have no idea who that could possibly be. There's, like I said, you can see, the Bennies actually sold me the property, so I'll be calling them now that I know they wrote a letter of concern when I get home. I'll be asking them what that was about, but they have a little bitty house across the street that looks like it's maybe 600 feet. I don't think anybody lives in. And then there's only one other person that can even see this school, and it's, I mean, if you were to look at
It's on the
this.
plan.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what would this be?
Patrick, I'm just curious if you've talked
To
to
the
them,
west side.
that's all.
No, I have no idea that anybody even had an opposition.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for conditional use permit request at 4180 Benny Road. This is CUP 21-21. And before we start, I forgot, since I knew we were going to have very few people speak at the fireworks, if you do speak, we ask that you fill out one of these cards or right at the corner of the table. This way we are sure that we get your name and address correct in our minutes. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this conditional use permit? Come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Marcia Gay, and I live at 4570 Huffmeyer Road, Defiance, Missouri, 63341.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Kay.
I'd like to start by saying I oppose this school in this location. As the crow flies, I'm about 1,500 feet from this school. I know he says he can't see any homes, but they are there. A lot of times the trees kind of cover that. My biggest concern is the water well, and I know that you brought up the issue with the, across the street with the brewery. The agreement was, and I'm pretty sure this is true, that he would dig his well deeper than the aquifer that we all work out of. All the neighbors around Huffmeyer and Benny, we're all on the same aquifer. And several years ago, a neighbor had built a new house and had a semi-truck full of sod delivered. And by coincidence, I can't prove anything, the next day, my well went dry. And I had to have a new well dug. So after that, I heard another neighbor had well issues as well, and that his well went dry. So I don't think that a well to support 20 students and a soccer field is the way to go. I think county water needs to be continued down this road if that's the way they want to go, or they need to have the same agreement that Mr. Bush had to dig into a deeper aquifer at, I think, 1,500 feet. And I got those numbers from the well company that had to redig mine. So that's one of my concerns. The other is the road. The road is a narrow road. It's a dangerous road. There's multiple accidents on this road. There's 2 90-degree turns and a single-lane bridge. That's not a place to put a school. Unless this county wants to come in and do something else with the road, I don't think it's a good fit. And those of us that live out in that area, we like our rural community. We don't want the lights from a soccer field at 11 o'clock at night. I think that's not a place to have that. I think even 10 o'clock is too late. When you've got little kids out there playing, you don't want them out at 10 o'clock at night. I raised my children out there, and I don't think that's a viable answer as well. From where I sit, I can hear and see the 2 miles away, the Numeli recreational area. So if I'm 1,500 feet from this, but I'm 2 miles away from Numeli, and I can hear it and see it, I can't accept that. That's not a viable solution. So I have a concern with the roads, the lights, the water, the sewer, and I just think it's, as he said, in the beginning, we may have 20 students, and I think that opens the door to have multiple students come to this location, and having it on Benny Road with the road conditions the way they are, I don't think that's, I think that just lends for something worse to happen. So that's my opposition to this proposal.
Any questions for Ms. Kay?
If he could solve the water problem, would you be okay with it?
I think solving the water problem is just a start. I think limiting the amount of students would be the second thing.
Okay.
Would 30 students be acceptable if there was a max of 30 and the lights were off at 9 p.m.? Would that be acceptable?
Not to me.
So how many students would be?
I think
okay?
20 is a max.
Okay.
And what about the lights?
9 o'clock would be better.
9?
Yeah, you don't want to keep a 5-year-old out at 9 o'clock at night.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding the conditional use permit 21-21? No.
I'm going to speak on behalf of everybody.
Oh, okay. Is everybody going to speak or just you?
I'm going to speak.
Yeah, I'm just here.
But
Oh,
this
you're
is
just-
my husband and
okay.
this is my neighbor.
Declaration?
Yeah.
Support.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said, so I'll just swear you in, okay? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sarah and Justin Vermette, 4163 Benny Road.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to go state your name? Just want to talk about the bush thing too. The deeper was definitely true. That was definitely agreed upon. He was going completely in a different spot. My husband and I, as well as our fellow neighbors, are firmly opposed to this private school. At the very least, we have some very serious concerns regarding the conditional use permit. We are the neighbor located directly to the north of the proposed private school, and we have lived happily in this rural area for more than 10 years. We'd like to first address capacity. The 50 is insane. It's 150% on top of what they've asked for. They've asked for 20. Why don't we give them 20? It sounds, as a direct neighbor, that increase is not a small amount. We can understand a little leeway, but this seems unnecessary, especially when they're talking about the head count being years down the road. It sounds like they've already built that into their estimate. Additionally, the application includes a parking lot for 18 vehicles. The amount is triple what is suggested for the county for private schools, which is 1 spot for 8 students, plus 1 space per employee at full capacity. In that case, it's a total of 6 spots. Since the application says again, 20 students, 3 teachers, years down the road, what's the need for such a large parking lot? Even at the P&Z staff's recommendation of 50 students, the required spot is still less than 18. My understanding is that the original plans included a second building being 280 by 85, which is not small. Can you please confirm the additional building has truly been removed from the plans and today's decision, since it was still included in the documents just last Friday? And second, is the parking lot size required? Is the parking lot size required to now house the tractors, vehicles, mowers, UTVs that would have been in the second building? That view would certainly hinder the ambiance of the area, potentially impacting property values. Both items, the increased capacity and the super big parking lot, seem to indicate that there are plans to open the school to a wider audience and add students outside of the current plan set before you to approve. But shouldn't that be evaluated appropriately and in the future, not now? The proposed entrance is located on what is described as a minor arterial road. Again, as someone who lives there, works from home, and sees the traffic day in and day out, this verbiage is inaccurate. Benny Road is a major cut-through between Highway D and Highway Double D, and is narrow with deep ditches and 2 very sharp 90-degree turns and a 1-lane bridge. Very recently, a car failed to make the 90-degree turn at the narrow bridge, and the sign is still knocked down. Benny Road is not only used by normal passenger vehicles, but also heavily used by dump trucks, farm equipment, and other large commercial vehicles. My guess is that close to 90%, if not more, of all these vehicles are going in excess of the speed limit of 35 miles an hour. We witness this speeding situation every day as we get our child on and off the bus, and any time we try to pull out of our driveway safely. In addition to the existing drives, there are 2 pending entrances off of Benny Road being built. This school would be a 3rd additional drive in very close proximity. We do not yet know the impact of the 2 approved drives, so approving a 3rd is irresponsible. The street views in the CUP document are also quite deceiving. The photo labeled Benny Road looking east doesn't clearly show the lack of visibility when coming over that hill. If we consider the estimate of the typical speed of 50 plus on the road, minimal visibility is extremely dangerous. Based on this application, an entrance to the school is being proposed off Benny Road. Next to the school, another entrance is being designed for the Freedom Ranch subdivision, currently owned by the same applicants on this CUP. In the best interest and safety of all who travel, work, and live on this road, would it make more sense to have only one entrance to the school off Freedom Ranch? Regarding the lighting, 11 is too late. That's insane. At a minimum, weeknights should be less. Due to the increased runoff from the new construction, flooding of my and my neighbor's property could increase. It already happens every time it rains. We would expect that drainage is appropriately addressed to prevent negative impacts to established residents. We kindly request you consider our thoughts and opinions in making your decision, and ask that you put yourselves in our shoes as a direct neighbor in considering this application.
Any questions? Hearing none, thank you. She read so fast. was trying to read along. She talks fast. You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. Mailing address, P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon, 63366. First of all, I want to put on record, it's information that I've obtained. I very strongly believe it's about 99% that the Bush deal is a dead project. I don't think it's going to go forward. I don't think the financing is there, and I think it's going to be a dead project. The second issue is the 5 acres of this school, proposed school, is a tight squeeze for this proposal. If you can look at it, there's no room for anything else to be put on that property. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the Missouri School Board have regulations that require a mandate, along with state law, that any new public school built in Missouri must have 15 acres as a minimum. Public schools are exempt from zoning regulations, and that's in our Constitution. That clearly was brought out in the Wentzville issue with the building of Liberty High School, and they basically told the O'Fallon Planning and Zoning Commission that they couldn't build a road right in the middle of their property, and that if they didn't back off of mandating that they build the road at the school district's expense, that they would build the project without any building permits. And that was from their attorney, and I totally concur. The Constitution does exempt public schools from any local zoning regulations. However, there are state regulations that do apply to all schools, and that includes the annual or biannual inspections of the State Fire Marshal's office. We already talked about the sprinklers. That's very concerning. Every school, whether, I believe in St. Charles County, whether they're public or private, I believe they all are mandated, and they all do require, even the older schools, have sprinklers. It is mandated by state law and fire protection district ordinances. There are inspections required by the Numelli Fire Protection District. And the inspection must be required by the Department of Public Health for all schools in Missouri. I'm in favor of the staff's recommendation that a type 2 landscape buffer be required to offset the look from the adjoining residential development. In all new public schools, starting as of last year, storm shelters are mandated to be built for all public schools. And I'm not sure if that requires for private schools like St. Dominic or which is a large Catholic high school, but it definitely does the public schools, and I think there should be some type of storm shelter built in this situation. We can never jeopardize the safety of children at any cost, in my opinion. The applicant is asking for 20 students. Staff wants 50. I don't know why they said that. I like Mrs. Bamer's compromise. Let's limit it to 30 students. That would, include the staff members. I believe there's 3 staff members, but 30 students for the conditional use permit. And the last thing that's very concerning is the water source. That's very major, and as somebody said in one of their emails, testimony, it's a serious concern. It came up in the Bush issue. It's come up here. It needs to be addressed by somebody, either staff or Public Water District Number 2, or somebody in the county needs to take the bull by the horns and address this issue. Water is a number 1 requirement for human life. If you don't have water, you're not going to be able to do a lot of things and sustain yourself or your family. Now, if this gentleman is going to tap into the same water source as the other residents, that's a really major concern. And I think you can all sympathize and understand, at least those of you commissioners that live on a well. It really needs to be addressed here. I hate to see it put by the side and let go. It needs to be addressed by you. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. If anybody has any questions. Oh, one other issue. I asked that we limit the soccer field to usage to 9:30 p.m. I think that that's reasonable. I think that's a compromise among all sides. 11 o'clock that was asked by the applicant and I believe approved by staff is just, it's not doable in a residential district, and it's not the right thing to do. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding conditional use permit 21-21, which is a private school proposed to be located at 4180 Benny Road? Anyone else wishing to speak? We will close the public hearing, ask the applicant to come back. Okay, any questions for the applicant?
I've got some. Have you done any looking into the differences between conditional use and permissive use on particular zones?
I have not, and only because when I first went down this road, they kind of guided me to the special use permit, quite
Okay.
honestly.
I have, specifically because my children do attend a private school.
Okay, good,
And
yeah.
the private school that my children attend is planning to move and find another place. So I've done some looking into this. And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. Please do. But if this were zoned residential or commercial, not C1, but the light commercial, is it C2?
Which is what I started for,
Yeah.
right?
So if it were zoned either of those, a private school would be a permissive and not a conditional use. Is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Is
So my question, I suppose, is you own this land and you
do.
also own the 25 acres around it?
The 50 acres around
50
it.
acres around it. And there are 3 homes currently on there?
Well, there's going to be, there's no homes on
There's
there
no
now.
homes currently, okay.
Right.
So it's zoned agricultural, which means that you can have a home for every 5 acres, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so theoretically, it would be a permissive use at 50 acres to have 10 homes there.
Which would have been my point for the water usage, because if I did it in 10 homes, and
Mm-hmm.
each home had 5 people, that's 50 people. There's not going
And
to
let
be
me
50 people at the
clarify,
school.
you said you have 7 grandkids
I
currently?
do, and there'll be 8, yeah.
Okay, so you'll have 8 grandkids.
Correct.
Do they all live, or are they all going to live on this 50 acres?
Yes,
So they're already going to be living there, using water there?
yes. They're going to walk to school, so they won't
Okay,
have any
so there's
road
not going to be
impact
any
either.
traffic initially until you bring other, so there's not going to be any cars at all? So you don't even necessarily need a parking lot other than the fact that it's
I only put the
regulation?
bigger parking lot in there because I kept getting kickbacks from the commission, and every time they do that.
They were asking you to
my
put a parking
engineer recharges me to redo stuff, and I really just wanted to get it over with.
makes sense.
Because it really, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to do this, it's a very expensive process
Okay.
to try to get through this stuff. It's been very unexpected.
So let me tell you this, if you were to build however many houses for
Right.
your
So I could
grandkids
build
and your
easily
families.
10 houses on that
okay,
50 acres if I chose to.
And they all were to live there.
Right.
And they all were to come together at one of those houses, and one of your daughters or sons were to teach them, and you didn't pay them, it was just free. That would be considered a homeschool, and you
Right.
would need 0 permission from anyone.
I understand.
So at this point, the reason that you're needing permission is because you're wanting to bring other people in that are your employees' children, not just your own family's children,
And
correct?
because
And
this-
because you're hiring an outside teacher.
Yes, and because the structure that I'm building is bigger than the structure they told me I was allowed to build on an agricultural, that's what they told me.
Okay, and your
So-
maximum is 4,800
That's
square
what they
feet?
told me, it was 4,800. I was very surprised to hear 100 by 200, because they told me I couldn't build a building like that on the
That's
way
an
it was
awfully
zoned,
big
so.
building for 10 students or 20 students.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things going on inside there, so there's gonna be a full kitchen. I mean, it's not,
Okay.
kids are gonna learn to cook.
So you're looking like Montessori type of a
They're gonna learn how
school.
to live life, right.
Sure,
yeah.
okay, so you're looking at more of like, rather than a typical school building, are you looking at more like a house?
No,
or-
so like, part of it is like a recreational area on the inside, so like you said, a tennis court, it's not, I mean, it is gonna be a tennis court,
Oh,
but only
okay.
because it's gonna be an indoor recreational area. You know, somewhere you can play dodgeball, somewhere you can shoot baskets, somewhere you can have recreation, right? And then the rest of it, I'm sorry, I keep looking over there, but it's not there. Then there's just like 6 schoolrooms, but I mean, there's gonna be an art room, there's gonna be a music room, so it's, I mean, there's rooms in there. It's probably overkill, honestly, but that's just the way, I mean, the size. To buy buildings, they don't cost that much more to go this way.
Sure.
They cost more to go this way, so it just made sense to put extra space in there.
Okay.
For any
Can
use
I
that we
ask,
would
so
need.
you're going to start out with 7 kids,
That's correct.
okay? At what point are you looking to expand to more children?
Well, my general manager from Tennessee is moving back next year. He's got 2 kids, and I know he won't be somebody who complains about the way we're getting it started. So the truth is, I just want to get it off the ground where we have it running smoothly, so that when kids come there, and even though they're going to be my employees, I don't want them to be disgruntled employees. I want them to be happy employees. So I want to know what we're doing when we bring their kids in.
Sure. So logistical question, why specifically did you not want to enter off of Freedom Ranch Road? If you only are going to have 3 houses on that road, it's all your land, why would you not enter there? Why aren't you
Because I'm
wanting
gonna
to enter off
donate-
of Benny?
So this is a non-for-profit, I'm donating the land, and I'm
Okay.
donating all the money to build the school, so.
Okay.
You know, in 25 years, I might not want to run this school anymore, or 20 years, I don't know, I might not be there, so I mean.
And you don't want it to enter off of the road that?
Correct.
Okay.
So, and that's why I did a separate entity, so it could be that its own entity.
Okay, so it doesn't have to have an easement, for
Correct.
example, on your other land. Okay, that makes sense.
And I do want to repoint, because I heard the water thing a lot. Look, I live 2 miles down the road, okay? I have a well. We water all my neighbors have wells. They water their lawn. I mean, I watch them. You know, it's, the impact, if I would build 10 houses in there, would be far, far greater than bringing in little kids. And it's not 5-year-olds that are going to be playing on soccer fields till 10 o'clock at night. It's 14-year-olds, guys. I mean, and I think 9:30, 10 o'clock is great. I think 11, I mean, I don't see anybody out there till 11 o'clock, by no means. I think 9:30 would even be okay. But it's not going to be 5-year-olds out there. I mean, these kids are going to grow. They're not always going to be 5 years old. Your kids grow up, right? So when they're 14, that's a little bit different story.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, there was, one of the people mentioned there was a second building that was shown on there.
Well, not
what's that
anymore.
about?
We did away with the second building, so they'll never, the proposal is as the proposal is. That's the way that it will be.
Okay, and, let's see.
Was the second building intended for the school or for something else?
Well, I was gonna build an indoor soccer field there, but it's not really that necessary. We'll build an outdoor soccer field and put some turf on it, which will also help you with your impact of your water. But it's a hay field right now, so it doesn't need water to grow the grass there right now. So the Bennies have been using that property for a bean field and a hay field for I don't even know how many years. Larry Kohler rents it from them. He's still gonna maintain it right now until we start building on it. So it's a big hay field right now.
What are your thoughts about digging a well that is in the deeper aquifer? Is that
Well, I
significantly
have a
more
well, that you go
expensive?
1,500 feet, you spend twice as much money. You don't need to go to 1,500 feet out there. That's silly. My well is 650 feet. I don't need to go to 1,500 feet to build a well. I mean, and it's just, all it does is add additional costs and take away from educating children. That's the only thing I keep
I
coming back
mean,
to.
what kind of water would the kids be using? I mean, we're talking about
That's what
drinking
I'm saying.
fountains.
I'll have
I'm
like,
just
what,
trying
4
to-
toilets in there and a water fountain? I'm confused. I mean, I'll
Which
have a
if
kitchen.
they stayed home, they would still be using that
They would-
water.
If they were home,
already
they'd be
living
using
there.
that water as well. And like I said, 10 houses in there would have real impact on water. I mean, we're not gonna sprinkle our whole 50 acres, and if you brought 5-acre lots in, they would all dig individual wells, and they would all water their lawn. Like I said, I live down the road 2 miles in Avondale on 3-acre lots there, and we don't, you know, we have wells out there, so I don't see the water impact being anywhere near. As a matter of fact, they should be lucky that I bought the 50 acres and somebody else didn't and developed 10 houses on there. Or wait even farther down the road and develop more houses on there. So I think there's far more less traffic impact for what I'm doing. There's way less water impact, overall less impact altogether. Because I could have developed the 50 acres and instead I decided to do this.
Is there something stated by covenant that the additional acreage will not be developed?
It's not, but if you really look at how we set it up, I mean, the way where the houses are gonna go, we're not setting them up for other people to come along and build, so.
Well, as you mentioned, though, 25 years from now.
That's true, yeah, but.
It could be, so I mean, I don't think, I mean,
I agree
right
with you,
now
Kevin,
in
but
your
in 25
plan,
years, they could have
it is-
water out there and they could have sewers out there. Just so you know, I live on Double D, okay? Double D is just about like Benny Road, right? You guys drive down Double D? But they built a brand-new middle school down there 12 years ago. So they weren't too concerned about the school. And I mean, they've got buses and kids everywhere. I'm not talking about anything like that. So as far as the danger of the road, well, they built the school off of Double D. Now, I think Summers is a safer road where they built the high school and they built the other school. But as far as that school on Double D, trust me, it's on top of a hill. You guys ever drive there? It's not good. I drive by it every day. I mean, you come to the top of a hill and they're turning out. So, I mean, they built a big public school off of Double D, which is one of the, in my opinion, most dangerous roads out there. It has far more traffic than Benny Road, and it's a far more dangerous road than the road I'm on. Which is one of the reasons why.
That could be, but we're really discussing this property.
No, I understand, but just in reference, when you look at what's going on, I mean, to see what's happened, I mean, I'm listening to the arguments, and I'm looking at what's been done, going, look, they've done this, okay, with far more traffic to that school than the school that I'm talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Clary, the other property where the 3 homes are going to be built, that 25 years from now, if somebody wanted, they would have to come back to the planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Because it's the way it's
The way it's
platted now.
platted, right.
They want to go
And if they wanted to do anything else with his building, they'd have to come back
Have to come
for
back.
another conditional permit. So they
Yep.
can't, for those in the office, he can't build this, say this is what he wanted, and then boom, turn it over to be something else without somebody coming back.
Yeah.
Which is not my intent, for sure.
Yeah.
The indoor tennis and everything else on the floor plan that's just for the school? That's not any intention on leasing that out?
I have no intentions on leasing anything out. no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Not a recreational use on top of the school?
No.
Okay.
Would he have to come back if he wanted to rent the school building out for tennis lessons or permits, or if he wanted to start leasing the soccer field to bring in 16 teams on the weekend to do something? Does he have to come back for additional permissions for those?
Well, commercial indoor recreation, commercial outdoor recreation, those are their own use categories for conditional use permits. So if those uses were proposed in addition to a school, then yeah, they would require. I can't say that if someone occasionally used the facility, if like the kids wanted to play another team of homeschoolers
Right.
or something, I wouldn't come out there with the zoning violation orders.
Right, right. But I think there's some concern from other people that, is there going to be soccer games every night of the week and 50 additional
Right.
cars coming into the school every day?
Yes. Yeah, that would require additional approvals
Yeah,
from
they
the.
barely have enough for a team.
Yeah. Can I address a little bit some of the questions about land use categories? When this proposal first came to county staff, we talked about a variety of the avenues that this project could pursue. One of those was rezoning to a neighborhood commercial district where it would be allowed by right. The downside of that is the master plan calls for future agricultural uses in this area. And so going forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the county council, that would be up against the master plan's recommendation for agricultural. And if this property were rezoned commercial, then things like banks would be allowed by right, convenience stores would be allowed by right, and some of those other uses. So our suggestion was that this would be a better avenue to pursue than that rezoning.
Robert, one quick question. So I know you talked about the firewall issue and potentially not having to sprinkle that. And was that from the building code, from the building official looking into it? Did we have any research into the fire marshal's office? And since they'll probably be involved with this, is that something that's going to trigger it to be sprinkled regardless of the firewall?
That was a comment by the Building Code Enforcement Division Director that one or the other could be used. And that was his preliminary take on the concept that was presented. So there's still a lot of details to work out, but we wanted to make the applicant aware that this is just something to think about when the building's being designed, because we don't want to catch people unaware later in the process if possible. We like predictability, and as I say, in government, you don't want surprises. No one wants surprises. The applicants don't want surprises, and we don't want them.
So there's no regulation by room for sprinklers? So if there's X amount of rooms in a building, there has to be a sprinkler system?
My understanding is it depends on the area.
12,000, usually, I don't know, I own buildings in O'Fallon, 12,000 feet in O'Fallon. If it's over 12,000 feet, when you build your building, you have to sprinkle your building unless you divide it by a firewall. That's pretty common in industrial buildings.
Based on an occupant load, but I think my question is the fire marshal, which is separate, which is involved with schools, looking into that, and if that triggers something else. Because usually it's, my understanding, the building official requires if it needs to be sprinkled, and then fire says it's per these regulations, but schools kind of follow its own separate through the state fire. But Robert, I might have that wrong. It's been a while since I've seen that issue.
Okay.
So it's just something to look into, and I'm sure you guys are, so.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Robert, you have more?
No. Was there any other questions, Jennifer? You
So
had
there will not be a sprinkler system, I guess. Is that correct?
My understanding that they could do either or. They could put in a sprinkler system, or they could put in firewalls to divide up the area.
Okay, and either.
Oh, one other comment real quick. You mentioned about the large building. That again goes back to the uses, the use categories. So in the use category of a personal storage building, you can have X number of size building, or if you have an agricultural storage building, it can be a Y size. But what we're talking about here is a private school, and it's, there's just different limitations on accessory storage buildings than there are for other buildings.
Yes, sir.
So why did you propose 18 parking spots for this spot?
Well, because I think the first time they told me there wasn't enough, and I was like, here, just, and then he came back. Yeah, and then when what am I trying to say? My engineer came back, my architect came back, then he had it all across the front of the building. I was like, well, gosh, that's a lot of money to buy parking spots. Why don't we just improvise and do half of that, and we'll make everybody happy? So, look, I'm not really trying to put in more parking spots than I have to, but I mean, I don't think 18 parking spots is too, I mean, it makes sense to do at least half the building, or I think it might look silly, to be quite honest with you.
So what, I mean,
We just state the minimum, and it's got to meet that minimum requirement, and that's it.
and then, so would you be comfortable with less student recommendations
30 students?
and hours?
Like I said, I think that the reduced hours are for sure a a good idea. 8 of the students live in the subdivision. So at least give me the 8 plus those, because I mean,
Well, yeah, no,
I don't know, I can tell you this, I can already see what's gonna happen. The school's gonna be amazing. The people that work for me are all gonna want their kids to come here. And I can see that, so I mean, I get that, but once again, I mean, I don't see what that impact, when you look at those roads, and I come down Double D, I come down to Binney Road, if there was 30 students, even if, I mean, you have to understand, you're talking about kids that they have brothers and sisters. It's not 30 individual people dropping off. They're kids. The people that work for me, you know, my average age employee is 28 years old, right? My kids have 4. These kids that are working for me, they have 2 and 3 kids. So as soon as you take on one family, you know, you're not usually signing up one kid here. I don't know, how many kids do you have homeschooling?
6.
Right, 6, okay, so I mean, that's almost, I might know if I could take 6, but, so I guess that's really where the point comes in. I mean, if you had 20 students and, you know, you had another employee that wanted to cover, they had another kid, you know, I mean, that was coming of age. I mean, I could see those. I think that 30 is a fair limit, and I'm only saying that because I'm not trying to cause myself major aggravation in the future neither. Once again, how this all started is my daughter pays a lot of money for her kids to go to school. My son pays a lot of money. My employees were missing work, so I was like, hey, let's create something that we can provide continuous education and keep continuity. That's how we.
I pay a lot for my grandkids to go.
I know, it's crazy, right? Well, I guess I'm about to, right? But I'm about to pay a lot for my grandkids to go to school too.
Would you be okay with the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
Yeah, I see no, and really 7 a.m. is early. I mean, so yeah, I don't see any problems with that at all. Yeah, 7 a.m. I guess, I don't know if I'll be at school at 7 a.m., but.
So, Robert, if we did 30 and he decides he wants to go up to 40 in the future, he has to come back before this commission on that condition.
Then
Just-
we would have some history.
Yeah. Now we'll have a history to know some of the concerns.
Right, that's true.
I mean, if you look at the Department of Education, they say there's about, 8 to 10 students per every teacher. So if you got 3 teachers, you're within that 24 to 30. So I think 30 is reasonable based upon class size limits that they have for public educational students.
Right, I agree. And I think public schools are more 20 to 22 students as opposed to 10 to 12, but that's an all the great reason why maybe to have a private school.
With a
as
para,
well.
I mean, there's a lot of things in there. So it's up to
Exactly.
25, but you got to have a para in there. So
Right,
there's
exactly.
there's a lot of other things in there. So yeah, totally understand. Yep.
I'm going to bring up another condition we might want to consider is no dump trucks or recreational vehicles, motorcycles, ATVs parked on the premises, something along those lines. I'm just not sure.
Of the school itself?
Yes.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a storage unit, and I mean, well, you don't see the building, but in the.
Yeah, but we've
proposed
seen this
building,
before where
absolutely.
people, we don't put these conditions on and then they just do whatever they want on the property and.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
much for my place looking junky, and I do own the 45 acres right behind it. I think
Yeah, but if we
I'm
don't
fine
put those conditions on,
Sure.
it happens, so.
Sure.
I'm curious what the commission
I'd
thinks.
be fine with that.
I'm fine with that and adding, construction vehicles, as long as it's not construction vehicles or working, on the site to prepare it.
The only question I would have is to specify that, because he did say that he owns a construction business. So if his employees are dropping their kids
it's
off in a
parking.
truck.
It's parking,
okay.
it's parking.
I'm just saying, and it
Yeah.
says Midtown Home
No.
Improvements
No,
on the
that's-
side, I mean.
No,
No, it's
seems
a very
like they ought to
inconvenient
be
place
out
for me to
there.
park my work trucks,
Yeah.
trust me. It's a very, And I have 5 acres in Wentzville to park work trucks, so we have plenty of room out there.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now the commission will consider CUP 21-21, which is a conditional use permit request at 4180 Benny Road. Before I'll entertain a motion, probably the best thing to do is for us to consider the recommendations that have been made by staff. The first recommendation is the maximum number of students enrolled at any one time shall be 50.
Can we please change that to 30? I'd like to make a
We
motion.
can, that's us. It's that.
So I'd like to make that 30.
Yeah.
I make a motion to make that 30.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. A type 2 landscape buffer conforming to requirements of section 405.435 of the county code should be installed along the eastern and southern property lines to the extent depicted in the concept plan. Any issues with that recommendation?
Accepted.
No school functions shall take place outdoors between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Okay, so it's written sort of,
Right.
remember, we're talking about nighttime.
I'd
Okay.
like to make a recommendation of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m.
I'd second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the third recommendation would be that no school function shall take place outdoors between the hours of 9 p.m. in the evening and 7 a.m. in the morning. Is that correct?
Correct.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
No lighting of the athletic field shall take place between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Can I make a motion, please, to change that to the same matching hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m.?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Just motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor of recommendation number 4, the hours being 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
All parking shall take place in the parking areas as designated in the approved site plan.
Is this where you want to add your?
So I think we're going to say the same thing. I think this could be where you would then add in and no long-term parking or no, something along those lines here when it's talking about the parking stuff.
About your commercial vehicles, your farm vehicles, ATVs, broken down vehicles, that kind of stuff, farm equipment.
Well, I think there should be no vehicles should be parked in those parking lots after certain hours either. It shouldn't just be a parking lot.
Overnight parking?
Right, it shouldn't be an overnight parking, so, we should limit the hours of parking unless it's emergency or something. But also, there shouldn't be any vehicles that are not related to I guess if he's gonna have storage, so all that could be parked in the storage, any lawnmowers. So we should regulate it that any equipment that's used for maintenance of the facility has to be parked indoors. I think that's probably the best thing to do. You can leave the parking probably the way it is and just have a condition that any vehicles that are used for maintenance of the facility have to be parked indoors in the storage facility.
We can make that number 9?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So with just regarding the parking area, so that would, parking shall take place in parking areas as designated in the approved site plan.
Right.
So any concerns with that?
No.
Okay. All exterior lighting that exceeds 1 foot candle shall utilize full cutoff light fixtures to prevent light to impact surrounding properties. That's a county standard, correct? Right.
That's been a consistent standard for conditional use permits in the last couple of years.
Okay. Number 7, a site plan in conformance with the concept plan attached as part of Exhibit B shall be submitted to and approved by St. Charles County Community Development Department prior to the conditional use permit becoming active. That's a standard. No conditional use shall be an active use until such time all conditions of approval have been met. That's standard. And Robert, don't we typically add that this will, expire in 2 years?
Yeah, if not.
That's now in the ordinance as a standing
Oh,
ordinance
okay.
requirement.
Okay,
And it says that it'll automatically expire within 2 years if the use is not active and in use. It's not that the building is under construction or is built. The use has to be active.
okay.
There was one other question I meant to ask, I forgot to ask. So this is a relatively flat piece of ground. What about the drainage? How's that being addressed?
That will be addressed at the site plan stage, which will be the next step for the applicant, should they be successful with the concept plan. They've got 5 acres, so I'm thinking they're going to have enough room on the western portion somewhere, or potentially along the southern portion in the setback area for
Retention pond?
retention, yeah, detention.
And then we'll add a recommendation, number 9, which says that all,
Maintenance, farm, and construction vehicles will be parked
well,
in
this would be,
regards to this building.
that, okay, Counselor?
Yeah.
So we're trying to say that all maintenance, what you're saying, construction, recreational vehicles be stored indoors.
Right,
No overnight parking outdoors
correct.
as well. So,
And no vehicles parked outside for parking for the facility. We should have some hours on that too, because if they're having night, they're there at 9, they shouldn't have overnight parking unless someone's been drinking and can't drive. I guess that would be, but for temporary use, you know, there shouldn't be anything that's permanent.
at a school.
No, that never happens. Yeah.
I did want to ask, I forgot that also, is that soccer field going to be sodded?
It's going to be dirt.
Yeah.
What's that answer?
It's just going to be, it's going to cut it. Yeah.
Okay. I figured if you were an ex-soccer player, you'd want it to be.
As they get older, if they get better, I may turf it actually, as opposed to sod it, because it's a lot easier to care for. But I may ask for an overnight vehicle only for a van to be able to take, on field trips. So
Yeah, see, that's why I wanted to be careful on
Like a
that,
small
too.
bus.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
If I could suggest
Like a
something.
daycare.
Yeah, go ahead.
A conditional use permit for a lawn care service, that has a standing requirement that any related equipment or vehicles are required to be stored within accessory structure. Now, in terms of the parking, you might refer to passenger vehicles versus other vehicles, like I think the van can be considered a passenger vehicle.
Okay.
Might be a way to distinguish.
Could you put language in there as it is a passenger vehicle owned and maintained by the school itself, could be allowed to be parked overnight? Can you get that specific, as opposed to just everybody wanting to park there for a party?
so we could do no, if we were, we're saying like no parking overnight or no overnight parking with the exception of
Yes.
any passenger vehicles being operated, owned by the school.
Yep.
Okay, Roger, you're an attorney. How do we do this?
Move to amend with those, to add the condition with those.
Okay, so
schedules.
number 9 is just, we're only going to address the parking as
Yep.
opposed to lawnmowers and tractors, and we're not addressing that.
So all parking shall take place in parking areas as designated in the approved site plan. Number 5 could be in the, no, I can't do that either.
I think you could add 9 and 10. So you could add 9 being that the vehicle, no overnight parking except for a vehicle that's owned by the school,
That's
and
good.
10
Sure.
could be
Two separate ones.
maintenance,
A passenger vehicle.
yeah, maintenance stuff.
Okay.
Or the county ordinance for lawn care companies.
So
So
this-
number 9 would be no overnight parking. Well, now, let's back up. We need to define overnight. We have that issue in Whitmore.
Do no parking of vehicles between the hours of similar hours, 9 PM
Yeah.
and 7
So
AM, with the exception of.
Yeah, no parking of vehicles between the hours of 11:59 PM to
6:59
well, somebody needs to get there early, 6 PM, or 6 AM. Yeah, except for passenger vehicles owned and operated by the school.
Yep.
Okay, that takes care of that. Any and all maintenance, indoor and/or outdoor maintenance equipment of the school shall be stored indoors.
In the accessory structure.
Yeah, in the accessory structure.
Oh, they don't have accessory structure indoors then, okay.
So that'll be 9 and then 10.
10, okay.
Okay. Okay, is there any questions? Okay.
I guess I just have one more question, not necessarily on the recommendations, but as far as the master plan goes, does this fit inside of the master plan for having a school? I mean, I'm still nervous about everything that we've talked about, right? And being familiar with the area and discussing what really is this area supposed to be. This applicant seems like it's going to be a small operation, but when he sells, what are the future plans? I know they got to come back here, but that's why we put the master plan together. And just didn't know what the master plan was for this area.
Master plan recommends future, can you hear me okay? Master plan recommends future agricultural uses. Now, I would say the master plan recognizes that in areas that are designated for either agricultural, for instance, or residential, for instance, that includes some complementary uses, such as schools, recreational facilities, parks, things like that, that are complementary to the primary uses. So it is within the master plan, I would say, except it's a conditional use permit, so it depends on how it's done, and that's what this is all about, looking at on a case-by-case basis, how is it proposed and whether it impacts the neighbors.
Yeah, I just, it's going to impact neighbors, right? But it's going to impact traffic. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in 3 years, not saying it's going to happen in 5 years, but I think this is the planning stage that, we mentioned New Millie Sports and Rec right down the road. 10 years ago, it was nothing. And now they're renting fields every other night, right? You give an inch and things happen, especially in that area. And next thing you know, they're back 3 times and it's a mile. So I just think we need to consider that, because this is driving down that road on a daily basis. This is not a road that I picture, and I know many of the constituents out there that I've talked to in the past 2 weeks consider even a small school to be on this very narrow 2-lane road next to a 90-degree corner with no thought of some of the other things like lighting, like the well, all this kind of stuff. We've heard from 2 or 3 people on letters, but there's quite a bit of other rumblings going on out there that I think that maybe we need to consider those too.
I have a quick question. This comes up a lot. We talk about traffic studies and traffic and different roads a lot in here. And I guess my question is just, how do roads get improved? I mean, I feel like in general, a road doesn't get widened or made straight or improved unless there's a need for it, correct?
Absolutely.
So it sounds to me like maybe this road needs some work, because St. Charles County is definitely growing in general. Now, I'm not discussing this particular private school. I'm just talking about in general, St. Charles County is growing. And if we have these roads that are unsafe, maybe that's what we need to focus on, and not on keeping people from using land that is clearly people want to use in some way, as long as it's an appropriate use.
Do we know if there's a plan for an expansion in this area or anything like that from the highway department?
The county road board.
The thoroughfare plan, which is part of the master plan, designate which roads are to be widened substantially. It doesn't really address minor widening, such as adding shoulders, things like that, but it really addresses, for instance, Highway N. We know that's going to go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes plus a turn lane. So that's shown in the thoroughfare plan. So Mark has just pulled up the thoroughfare plan for this area, and they're not showing a major widening for Binney Road. If there had been, we would have accounted for that in the setbacks for the concept plan, because we would hate for a future road widening to take out the parking lot or part of the facility.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve CUP 21-21, which is a conditional use permit request located at 41880 Benny Road. The conditional use request is for the operation of a private school on a 5-acre parcel of ground on the south side of Benny Road, a half-mile east of Highway D. And the conditional use is subject to the recommendations proposed by staff as amended, and recommendation 9 and 10 as added by the commission. Any questions regarding the motion?
Did we vote on those, adding those two conditions?
Yes.
We did? I
Oh,
can't-
not the last two, we did not.
No, we didn't vote on those.
No, not the last
We
two.
need to vote to add those.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll vote on the condition 9, which is no parking between the hours of 11:59 and PM and 6 AM, except for a vehicle owned by the school. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor sign aye. Aye. And then 10 was that all maintenance equipment owned and operated by the school must be stored in an accessory building. Indoor accessory building.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, been made in motion and second. All in favor sign aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Okay. So let me back up. So the chair entertains a motion to approve CUP 21-21, which is a conditional use permit request for a private school located on 5 acres of ground on the south side of Benny Road, a half-mile east of Highway D. The conditional use permit request is subject to the recommendations proposed by staff as amended by the commission, and with the addition of conditions 9 and 10. So that is our motion.
Motion. Second.
There's a second. Motion by Ms. Bamer, second by Ms. Barr. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Cleary, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Cordwell?
No.
No. Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
No.
And I vote yes. Application passes.
Does this go before planning or before county council? What's the date on that?
April the 11th.
So for the people that want to, you can go before the county council and ask for recommendations on that too, and changes. So you have another opportunity to speak on it. Probably, is it just one or two?
Yeah.
On conditional use.
County, this will be on the county council agenda for April,
opportunity.
Monday, April the 11th. Okay, now, let's see. No, I'll just do this. Okay. The next item on our agenda is rezoning request on Firemouse Road. The application number is RZ 22-02. The property owner is Steepleview Farm LLC. The applicant is K. Andrew Weber, authorized agent. The developer is Michael McMenamy. The engineer is Bax Engineering Company. The current zoning is A agricultural, 5-acre minimum lot size. The requested zoning is RR Single Family Residential District, 3-acre minimum lot size. The 2030 master plan recommends rural residential uses. The rezoning area is 71.61 acres. The parcel size is 390.22 acres, including both tracts. The location is on the west side of Firemouse Road, approximately 3,650 feet north of Highway P, near the cities of St. Paul and Josephville, located in Council District 1. Staff.
Okay. So this rezoning request is actually inclusive of two separate parcels. There's a large main parcel, and then there's a sliver parcel that we have. If we can show the map real quick. There's this parcel here. Let me move that out of the way. We have this parcel here, and then the larger parcel here. This rezoning request is going to be up in the northeast corner of the property, 71 acres, like you said, for rezoning the property. They're looking to rezone to rural residential, which would allow for 3-acre minimum lot sizes. We did receive 1 written protest, 1 letter of concern, and 5 letters of opposition, and 1 letter of support.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Jeff Simmons with Bax Engineering, 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm here tonight on behalf of the developer, Michael McMenemy. As staff mentioned, we are looking to rezone just a portion of the 390 acres that the family owns. We're looking to rezone 71.6 to the rural residential. This is consistent with the future land use plan of 2030, which seems like a long time away, but it's only 8 years away. The project is consistent with the surrounding properties to the north and the south. Both contain 3-acre lots. I know some of the concerns are about septic that I read today. We do have DNR approval. DNR requires the minimum size for the lots in this area to be 1.2 acres. Obviously, we're not proposing lots that small. We will be a minimum of 3 acres, so we're well within that. The future land use looks at less than 1 unit per acre. We're going to be at 0.33 units per acre, given the 3-acre minimum. The developer plans on building custom homes. He does not have a builder at this point. He's anticipating the lot sales would be around $150,000 each, with homes, obviously, to match that. One of the concerns brought up earlier on a different project was transportation. So the county does have a thoroughfare plan. Firemouse Road is part of that thoroughfare plan. Eventually, I guess, way out, it's anticipated to be 5 lanes with a 100-foot right-of-way. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen right away. But as far as our project goes, we will be donating land to bring the width of the right-of-way on our side of the road from the center line to our property edge to 50 feet in anticipation of that future development. At this point, that's really all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for RZ 22-02, which is a rezoning request on or near Firemouse Road. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings from the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Hairston. I live at 135 Kirstein Farms Drive, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63366.
Go ahead, Mr. Harrison.
Would it be possible to put the map back up, the one where they showed where the subdivision was going to be put?
Sure.
The reason I'm asking for it is my property borders the southern edge of that property. So the street down at the bottom there, Kirstein Farms. So when I received the letter, I assumed that they were going to build all, whatever acreage that is, several hundred acres, was going to be turned into a subdivision. So now that I see the map, it's a little bit different. But the two concerns I have is currently within 6 miles of my house, there are 3 subdivisions that are about the same property size, the same kind of situation. They haven't sold a single lot, to my understanding. There's a plot of section of land across from the St. Joseph Church that hasn't sold a piece. There's a section of land with 3-acre lots that are down on Kirstein Road. And then, I'm not real familiar with the streets, the McDonald's that comes up from behind, on north of McDonald's, they just turned that into a subdivision. Are they gonna be turning it? To my understanding, those 3 areas have not sold a single lot. So now we're turning agricultural land, which was used for crops or pasture, whatever, and it sits. It's just gonna sit there. My second concern is the backside of my property is this property here on the southern edge. In the last couple of years, the farmer has flattened out the creek. There was a creek that runs between my property and next door. He's flattened that out and he put a berm up. Well, the last 2 years, my septic tank is flooded. We've had heavy rains. So I'm worried about rainwater wash, coming down. If you take and put property up here and you take 30% of the land and turn it into a land that can't soak up the water, where's it gonna go? So my concern is the water issue. That's all.
Okay, any questions?
So what size acreage is your property?
I have 3 acres.
Okay, so you're concerned more about the drainage, not about the size of the lots?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Georgia Hunt. I live at 1854 Highway Y, which is at the corner of Firemouse and Highway Y.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Hunt.
Thank you. I would agree with the gentleman. Firemouse and Highway Y floods continuously based on the leveling of that ground, and usually if there's a hard rain, you can't get through that passage. It's a 2-lane highway. I live on 5 acres, which is the standard for St. Paul. I've been here many times before where we have reduced the land, and reduced the land. We're gonna start with 3 acres, sure. I doubt that. They're gonna come back and they're gonna rezone the rest of it and they're gonna want 1 house per acre. And then they're gonna want 4 houses per acre. We've seen it with Riverdale, we've seen it with all the other parcels. And as you can see, it's a light group today. And the reason for that is everyone I asked to come to this committee and say, can you go talk to the board with me? They said, there's no use. It doesn't matter. They're winning. You're wasting your time. No one's listening. They are going to continue to move into this area and reduce the ground until we look like O'Fallon. House after house after house. People want to live in St. Paul because we have 5-acre lots, because there's farmland. I'm not against farmers selling their land, but they need to keep the 5-acre restriction. That's what makes St. Paul special. I get asked every week, you want to sell your 5 acres? I have a Riverdale. Anyone selling 5 acres? I want to get out of Riverdale. It's congested. It's overpopulated, and we have multiple parcels for sale in St. Paul. And I'm not asking you just to consider this one, to look at the entire footprint of St. Paul. What is that going to do? We have 1 elementary school. We have a private school. We have 1 high school. We are busting at the seams with Riverdale. We traffic, you can't get out on 79. Firemouse is a 2-lane road going to another 2-lane highway with no stop signs, and it's dangerous. Putting more people in that town, that infrastructure is going to collapse. Because what's happening is all the original individuals that live in St. Paul, as more houses move in, value, and you make smaller houses, I don't even know. I mean, I just think that we go against this. They put a restriction out there, they say they're gonna do something, and and we talk about the wells, we talk about the septic tank. We're using these reasons to plead our cases. The guy before me pled that 10 wells on 50 acres, that would destroy everybody's wells. We're all on wells. You put another 30, 40, 50 houses on that property, all of our wells are gonna get impacted. They're gonna be at the same depth of my vein. We already have issues in Flatwoods with all the subdivisions that went down there. People have bad water, they got sulfur coming in, their water's yellow, and that's because houses are coming in and they're tapping into the same veins. And septics, all them drain fields, 25 houses, nobody wants to live next to that. Nobody wants drain fields going through every single house in a 3-acre property. Just asking you to consider holistically, look at the entire town, look at every parcel that's coming across your plate, and consider what it's doing to us. Because piece by piece, we're getting destroyed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings and the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tammy Sladen, 3209 Noel Lane, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63366.
Go ahead, Ms. Slate.
I have three concerns for adding these 3-acre parcels. Has there been a study of the impact to the water table and the wells? They've added 3 new houses recently in the last three or so years in our area, and a neighbor has recently had to have his well dug deeper, so I am concerned also with the water table and the wells. I wasn't sure where the entrances were, if they were on Freemouth Road or Eisenbath, because the back corner of this touches Eisenbath. There is another parcel of 115 acres on Eisenbath that recently got sold. And I'm concerned about the traffic that's going to come down Eisenbath. That the property on Eisenbath, the development is also going to go down Freemouth Road. So you've got 115 acres that are going to be developed, and this 390 acres. So you're going to have a lot of traffic coming down there, and it's no lights, no street lights, 2-lane county road with no shoulders. So we're adding a lot more traffic. And my last concern is at the intersection of Highway P and Freemouth Road, where all these houses are going to be coming. There is 2 blind spots there on Freemouth headed south before you get to Highway P. There is a real sharp top hill crest there with a stop sign at Highway P, and I can't count how many times people have come over that hill crest and ran through the stop sign not knowing it's there, so I think we need an improvement of some sort at that intersection. So that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, my name is Ray.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings and the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Raymond Gerard, 142 Kirsting Farms Drive. Several comments for the members of the commission. First, the entire parcel is 390 acres. If the existing zoning was kept at 5 acres, it would still allow a large number of lots. From that perspective, I don't believe the rezoning is required. Second, if the decision is to proceed, then I agree with the comments that have been made earlier, and I would think that this matter should be continued until, in fact, a water study was done and submitted. Third, and then my final comment is this, that if this is allowed to proceed, and as the rezoning is a legislative decision, which is at your discretion, I would suggest that at a minimum, a condition ought to be attached to any rezoning that they would be required, the developer would be required to be put in some type of a legislative buffer around the outer perimeters of the entire 390-acre parcel. That should be part of any final plat approval. That any a plan that shows the legislative buffer should be part of any final plat approval. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings and the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Bradley Tum, 101 Kirsting Farms Drive.
Go ahead, Bradley.
63366. Two things. The first one is I agree with the comments about the 5-acre lots. I think it's important that, I think the lady said before, understanding the footprint of St. Paul is important, and understanding the integrity of what it means to be in the country is really important. There are some 3-acre lots in the area. There's not many though. So the normal footprint is 5-acre lots, and I would certainly ask you all to consider that. The other one is also what someone said is I just need to seek to understand the entrances of this subdivision. So I understand it to be on Freemouth, but there is a entry point that's on Eisenbath at the southwest corner of the 390 parcel. That the entrance is already there. And through a recent survey that I had completed, it's 3/4 on my property. So I have that issue of it's encroaching upon my property. The second issue with that, though, is it's a bad spot for an entrance to a subdivision, just by way of the curvature of that road. And two, I would just say these are country roads. So it feels as though, going back to my first point, this is a bit of profit over common sense as it relates to trying to shove as many houses in this parcel as this builder can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Tina Talbot, and we live at 3145 Noel Lane, O'Fallon, 63366.
Go ahead.
So, I grew up in St. Charles County. I've lived in this county for 30-plus years. My husband and I, as well as many families in the area, we chose to move out of the city limits to the county for a rural type of living. We chose to move on to 10.9 acres, which is more than the 5-acre minimum in the county. We've watched the area grow, like many of the people have already said, at a pretty rapid rate. Several plots have been subdivided into smaller and smaller lots. It changes the feel of the area, and a lot of the things that have already been addressed, like septic systems and wells, is also a concern. I know that we're only currently talking today about the 70-plus acres. I, too, when I first read the letter, thought it was about the whole entire 390 acres until I started reading further in depth. But like it's been brought up, that there is a second entrance already made off of Eisenbath. I think the long-term plan for this whole plot is much smaller lots on the entire 390 acres. If we're only talking about the 70 acres, I understand that's only 22 homes versus 14. And totally understand it's up to them on the 5-acre lots. I'm just really hoping we take into consideration not reducing the acreage to 3 acres. Because if we reduce it for this 70 acres, we can do it for the rest of the 390 acres. And then instead of talking about 78 homes, we're talking about 130 on that plot. And that's just a huge difference. This location is between St. Paul and Josephville, so it's within the county. It's not in one of those types of town. So it would be nice to be able to preserve that 5-acre minimum in the area. Our overall goal is to preserve the area as well as the resale value of our own homes. I don't plan on moving anytime soon, but I certainly want to keep the property value in our land. Our overall hope for the area is also to preserve the area, uphold property values, and also the wildlife in the area. There's a lot of wildlife in the area. We start reducing that area, putting a lot of homes in there, and where is the wildlife going to be forced to go? I thank you very much for your time, and I just kindly request that you take our comments and concerns into your decision-making for the plans of this property in the future and what's being proposed. And I just hope that you look at it as if could be by your house as well. I pass this property every day on the way home. It's very close. We live 2 addresses to the left of where this is being proposed. So it's something I'll see every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the
My name
record.
is Michael Talbot. I'm Tina's husband. We live at 3145 Noel Lane, which if you put the other map up, we're right on the corner of Eisenbath and Noel. So we're basically directly catty-cornered to this. Let me get my zone here. A couple things with this. Everybody, I don't know how many of you guys are on wells. I grew up out of Highway P my entire life. I've lived out P since I was a kid. My dad built our house by hand. I'm building our house by hand myself out at our place too, okay? We've been on a well. We've had to re-drill the well at my parents' house twice because of all the new development and all that stuff, okay? That's going to be a major development with putting even 3-acre lots in here, and this is only developing part of this, and I know they're going to go for smaller lots too. I think it's pretty sad that they sent the engineer and they couldn't even bother the actual developer to show up tonight. I'm familiar with the McMenemy family. I'm best friends with one of their kids growing up. This property that we're talking about, these are country rural roads. These are not designed to hold this level of traffic until they're improved. There's no way that you're going to be able to bring that amount of traffic in there. It's supposed to be 5 acres. It needs to stay there. The other thing I'll bring up is another thing too. Most of us that live within 1,000 feet of this rezoning got the letter on, it was mailed out on February 28th. That's the day it's dated. We got that and it requires 14 days to send a protest letter in, which would have gave before today 2 days to get it signed and notarized. That's sad, and you all should know better than that. I'm not, obviously you guys don't have anything to do with that, but this is coming at us extremely fast. We know it's going to get developed probably, but it should be developed within the confines of the 5-acre minimum. It protects that. The other thing too is that whole watershed drains right through our property, which means all the runoff, all of that's going on. As somebody else said, they just put a gate in at the corner of Eisenbeth right there in the bottom corner. The plan is to develop the rest of this property. That's why we're here. I don't know why we're not here rezoning the entire thing and getting it over and done with in one time. But instead, we're going to go for smaller lots next time, which I'm pretty sure is what's probably going to try to happen. It needs to stay 5 acres. That's what it's zoned at now, and that's what it needs to remain at. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. First of all, I'd like to address the gentleman's concern about the protest letter. Our county charter is very clear. The protest letter isn't before the planning commission, but that goes before the county council. Protest, if there is, I believe, I'm not sure about the percentage. The percentage of homes that need to sign, I think, is at least 20%. It might be 30. I'd have to check again. But that would require and mandate a 5 out of 7 council members to be in the affirmative. So that needs to be filed, I believe, and I'll have to check with Mr. Myers, the Thursday or the Friday before the county council meeting of April 11th. It has to be filed with Brenda Hinton, and she is the county registrar. She's on the 5th floor of the county administration building just down the hill on 2nd Street. So I'd really encourage the gentleman to submit that petition with Brenda Hinton, the county registrar. That's very important. The city of St. Paul has a zoning code, and you can, and there are numerous subdivisions that have 3-lot minimum. So it's already being done in St. Paul. The Fort Zumwalt School District has a plan to purchase 15 to 30 acres this coming year. I've been to the meetings, I've heard the discussions. There's a growing demand for public education. There's a need to build a new elementary school north of St. Paul and before Lincoln County. Public Water District 2, which I also attend their meetings, the water commissioners have seen that this is a growing district and a growing region. They have proposals to utilize Riverdale and to enhance that capacity, and are planning on building main lines through Highway P and also north of St. Paul to the Lincoln County line. As a matter of fact, they're in discussions with Lincoln County to take over some communities in Lincoln County as part of the Public Supply Water District Number 2. In my opinion, after looking and looking at this revised plan, this is responsible growth. Some of you sat on the comprehensive plan committee that was done 2 years ago. I wish some of the other residents knew about that and it could have come and testified and been part of that process, but it was kind of a little bit secretive. The county comprehensive plan calls for 3-acre lot minimum north of Highway N. Anything south of Highway N, it's some of it's 3 to 5 acres, and then 3 to 5 acres, and then some of it is still going to be 5 acres, and that's on the southern part of the county. This density makes sense to me. in the total calculation here. And I would ask for approval of this subdivision. I would ask that we get a definite plan or a dedication recorded for the proponent, to put the frontage land up front. So we want to make sure the taxpayers are on the hook for any improvements to the roadway. We want to make sure that that's recorded with the county recorder of deeds. As you all know, this area is a growth district. There's a demand for rural living. I feel that this is responsible plan, and I would ask for approval. Thank you.
Anyone else? You solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings on the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Ryan Hyder, 3340 Dean Lane, O'Fallon, just off there. So, good evening. I'm a St. Charles County business owner. Used to be my landlord over here in Cottleville, and I'm right smack dab in the middle of explosive growth. But I'm also a burgeoning farmer and rancher right here, and it's a little bit hard to tell because the screenshot has a neighborhood right below and a neighborhood right above, but there's actually a significant amount of farm area right here. But there are several, our council person knows, there are several developments underway right here. Like, it's just changing extremely rapidly. And you made a good point earlier about, sure, we change roads once we need to. We improve roads once we need to. But in farming and ranching, we talk about stocking rate and stocking density. And that is what can a field, how many head of animals can a field support over a certain amount of time. With the rapid growth of change that's happening with these developments all at literally the same time, the stocking density is right on a knife's edge. It's ready to tip over. It's not that you can't grow over time and infrastructure expand, but it's such a rapid, sudden implementation of development and growth right here that the infrastructure just can't support it. And as one of the farmers here that's farming, my concern is that, we do have 5-acre lots and we do have 3-acre lots. Obviously, we have a 5-acre minimum, but this is literally right, from my understanding of the master plan, it's just off the agricultural zone. There's a yellow agricultural zone right there at Flint Hill. It's really close to that because of all the farming area, if I'm reading that correctly. And I just think, what happens here when you continually push that stocking density of people, not to put it too crassly, but, right now, if I need to get a seed drill, I have to go to Warren County. And I can't go on the interstate, so I have to take back roads. And as more and more of this happens, all the farmers leave because you need help, you need equipment from each other, you can't lease land anymore, so people are just leaving. I just think, that's happening so quickly. It's not happening with time to adjust and make plans, but these 3 neighborhoods right here, they're just going in literally at the same time. I don't know if the lots are selling or not, but I just would like to consider the rate of growth. This is just adding gasoline to the fire to say, of course they could develop it at 5 acres if they wanted to, but sure, let's not only develop it, but let's develop it faster and smaller, and that just seems like it's adding fuel to the fire. I just wonder where we will maintain agricultural priorities in our county. Like, where will we say we value ag, we value farmers? It just feels like continually being pressed on and pressed out. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application? Anyone? Hearing no one, we will ask the applicant to return. Any questions for the applicant?
What's going to happen with the whole 390 acres?
I don't know. I spoke with the developer today. He is looking, he bought a portion of this land from a family member. They were splitting it. He wants to use this to recoup his investment. And then at this point, he doesn't really have any plans for it. He might just leave it to his heirs.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant?
May I make a statement?
No, ma'am. Public hearing's closed. I'm sorry.
Other than, you know, doing the 3 acres and around it, it's pretty much 3 acres, isn't it?
Correct.
Wrapped around it?
Subdivision to the north is 3 acres, and the one south of the entire parcel is. And if I can mention also, there was concern about Freymouth Road. We are not going to have an entrance on Freymouth Road from this 70-some acres.
Sir?
I'm sorry, I misspoke on Eisenbath.
It is.
I'm sorry. It'll be on Freymouth. It is not on Eisenbath. I
That's
misspoke.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Did you say you have gotten approval through DNR? Is that what you-
We have. They did a study, and they would allow 1.2 acre minimum. The county will not allow that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe septic in the county requires a 3 acre lot. And therefore, without any other infrastructure in place, so in other words, sewer brought up here, we could never develop this in less than a 3 acre lot in the county. The remainder of the parcel, I should say.
Until water and sewer come there.
Correct.
So at some future day you could.
Potentially. And that, though, would not be consistent with the master plan at this point. It still recommends 3 acre lots in this area.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. We will bring this RZ 22-02, the request for rezoning of the 71.6 acres, which is a parcel out of a larger 390.22 acres, which is located on the west side of Firemouse Road, approximately 3,650 feet north of Highway P, near the cities of St. Paul and Josephville. Comments, questions of staff?
Is
Concerns?
there a, in the difference between 3 and 5 acres, I can't remember off the top of my head, is there a size of home difference?
No.
Okay. So you could build the same size home on pretty much the same. I guess my big concern I have here is that we had 5 acres for a reason. And if we continue to just keep doing exception and exception and exception, then we probably need to change it to 3 acres so we don't have an issue. But for now, I'm sort of, you know, I have a problem with everything always being exceptions when you have a rule. So for me, that is a big concern of, I know development's going to come, but I think it is responsible, and having lived in this area for 50 years and had 9 generations living off Highway P, there needs obviously to be Freymouth Road, you know, all those areas are there's accidents, people speed up and down. So not that I'm not for growth, I think it just have to be responsible, and 5 acres is more responsible than 3, in my opinion.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I noted that there are 3 acre lots around there, but those are smaller developments. We are talking realistically of up to 130 homes. Yes, this one plat has the smaller amount, but I think we are closing our eyes if we only look at it and say, oh, it's only this amount. It's 390 acres that I think we have to realistically consider. I think the
Agreed.
5 acres is, as Tracy was saying, there for a reason. And I think with the other, when highest and best use demands development, it'll be a gradual one rather than putting a big development out in the middle of a field. So that's my feeling.
What does the master plan recommend for this? Isn't it rural residential?
Yes.
Which would be 3 acre lots?
Correct.
And that's in 8 years, correct?
Well, the
master plan.
Yeah, the master plan provides guidance as to what we should do. So, yeah, I mean, it's looking in 2030.
Right.
This
So
is
in
what it
2030,
would look like.
development could be at the point with anticipated growth, that might be the logical highest and best use at that point.
For reference, sorry, can you hear me? For reference, this vanilla color is the rural residential recommendation, future land use, and the green is future agricultural land use recommendation, except in the area where the green is, that speckled dots mean that if there is sanitary sewer service available, then there could be consideration for 1 acre lots.
Right, but that's not what's here now. So we
Right.
have to look and deal with what we have now and the impact of the people that live there.
Right, and you were asking what the master plan recommends, and that's what it recommends. If I can add one more thing real quick to address something that was said earlier, the date by which any landowner protests or any municipal protests, the deadline is actually April 25th. It has to be turned in before the county council votes on that rezoning case. That vote right now is set for April 25th. So presuming that they vote on that date, it's got to be turned in before their vote. We ask as a courtesy that they be submitted before that Monday, in other words, the previous Thursday, so we can go through them and we can advise the county council on whether or not it meets the protest requirement. But the drop dead deadline is by the time they vote, which is set for April 25th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment. I may have missed this. I feel like that we've had a lot of comments about just kind of a general opposition to how quickly the area is growing, and I understand that. It does seem like St. Charles County in general, and specifically this area is growing really quickly. I guess I may have missed whether there was anything that was specific to this plot of land, other than I did hear that because it's a 390 acre, because it's a larger plot, there's some concerns that the rest of it would also be developed in the future. Is there anything besides the fact that it's a large plot of land that brings this out, other than just general concerns about the area? Because I guess my concern is just that if we're saying, okay, the St. Paul area is growing too quickly, are we then going to just blanket say that we shouldn't do 3 acre lots at all in St. Paul? Because I just don't want to discriminate against one landowner
Right.
over another just because of the feeling of the day. Like, is there something specific to this piece that says this piece shouldn't be developed, whereas other pieces should be? Or are we just saying in general that St. Paul is getting developed too fast?
I don't think it's any of those. I think it's a few things. There is concerns, and I can understand land values and property values and that changing for current homeowners. I think that the rule was in place for a reason, the 5 acres. Again, if that changes, with regulations, then that changes with regulations. But right now, that's what's in place. And I do agree with give an inch, take a mile oftentimes happens. And at some point in time, there has to be, growth is inevitable. It's going to happen. When the sewer systems come in, that may mean, 1 house per whatever acre. But you have to also deal with the here and now too, and the possibilities of what could happen if we say 3 acres now, and then another to the point of 100 and some odd extra homes. I think it's looking at all of those things in the balance, both the future and the current, and how that impacts the people that live there. So that's how I feel about it.
So right now, we're looking at the 70 acres, right? Not the
70
390 acres?
71
Correct.
acres.
Okay.
Correct, but you're also looking forward to the future and what may be asked, the reality of both. You have to balance both.
I see Ms. Barr's point in the last year. If it is south of 4064, we've routinely rezoned, but that shouldn't be any different than ground north of 70.
Correct.
That's, to me, I think that's,
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what makes this different than all of the other areas that we've.
I haven't always voted yes for everything either.
Sure, of course. Yeah, of course not, yeah. I guess I'm just saying, if the master plan is saying we're going towards rural residential, I'm trying to figure out what makes this particular area of land different than all of the other areas that the master plan is saying, hey, this should be rural residential, and we seem to be moving that direction.
I think sometimes it's smaller lots, like one family has 20 acres and they're splitting it,
Okay.
a certain way. That makes maybe a little more sense. But But on something like, on this, I voted no on other things too,
Sure.
so.
So it's specifically the fact that it's a portion of the 390 acres?
Not
is what
just a
makes it
portion.
different?
I think that the 5-acre rule is there and has been. If we keep doing all these exceptions, then we need to change the rule.
Okay.
Or you have a rule for a reason. If there was an
What's the rule?
extenuating
I'm sorry, I'm
circumstance,
missing. Are you
5
just-
acres.
Are you just saying
right now.
because it happens to be zoned agricultural right now?
Well, right now it's for 5 acres. is what
Right,
the-
that's
yes.
agricultural is the 5 acres,
Yep.
right. And so that's what they're requesting, is that they're requesting it to be rezoned?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So they're asking to change the rule?
From 3 to 5, correct.
Okay. Just checking.
Just, well,
And I think
change,
some of
change,
those
not change the
down
rule, but change the zoning.
Correct,
And I
right.
think some
And
of
the
the-
change in the zoning does change the rule from 5 to 3, yeah.
And some of the projects that were down along N, they also had water right along D and places like that. So they already had public water there too. This is individual wells. So that is a substantial
Yeah,
difference too.
and that's what I'm trying to understand, is
Yeah.
what is the difference between
Yeah.
all
Right.
of these
That would be-
rezoning
that
that
would
we're
be a-
doing and this particular piece of land?
I also think it's size, right? I mean, even if we don't look at the 390 and taking that out of the picture, you're looking at, 14 homes versus 22 homes. So they're still going to get homes there. The road is still going to be more populated. The schools are still going to be more populated. The growth is still happening.
Yeah.
We're controlling it. The decision we're making now is, do we want 14 homes and have controlled growth, or do we want 22 homes and just have a little bit more growth? right?
Agreed.
And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
And I think that, I live in the rural area myself, and I'm for growth, but I'm for 14 homes, not 22.
Yeah.
Especially with the wells and the roads and all the other concerns we've talked about.
Any other questions, comments? Staff, Robert, you have anything further? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve RZ 22-02, which is the rezoning of 71.61 acres of a 390.22 acre tract located on the west side of Firemouse Road, approximately 3,650 feet north of Highway P, near the cities of St. Paul and Josephville. Be rezoned from A agricultural to RR single residential district, going from 5-acre minimum lot size to a 3-acre minimum lot size. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Okay, Ms. Banger made the motion, Ms. Cornwell made the second. Ms. Barr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
No.
Mr. Fromm?
No.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Shell?
No?
Mr. Bamer?
No.
Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
And I vote no. This application fails. Okay. Now, just so, we will still have to consider the preliminary plat tonight. It's on the agenda because the county council may decide differently. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a rezoning request, RZ 22-03, property owners Adams Family Residence Trust and Alfred K. Adams. The applicant developers Auden Development, engineers Bax Engineering Company. The current zoning is A agricultural, 5-acre minimum lot size. The requested zoning is RR Single Family Residential District, 3-acre minimum lot size. 2030 master plan recommends low-density residential uses, 1 to 4 dwellings per acre. The rezoning area is 38.27 acres. The location is 1,150 feet west of Morgan Meadow Drive on the south side of West Highway N, adjacent to the city of Wentzville. Staff.
You've covered the essence of what this case involves, but essentially, in requesting the rezoning from agricultural to the RR single-family residential district, the difference in lots would be 6 or 8 lots instead of 6 lots. So there is a small difference in the number of lots that could be developed. The master plan recommends low-density residential, 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre. And you may know that this section of Highway N is not that portion of Highway N that is projected to be widened through MoDOT's and the county's widening project. Instead, the future path for Highway N is down Buckner Road. So in other words, Highway N gets widened to Highway Z, and then you see that green line, that's the future route for Highway N. So this portion will still be open, this stretch of Highway N, should all of this get built according to plans. The section of Highway N we're talking about, that white line on the north, is still going to be open, but this subdivision joining that on the south side of Highway N is not going to be fronting on that busy 4-lane plus a turn lane highway. Let's see, again, the master plan recommends low-density residential, 1 to 4 dwellings per acre, and the requested zoning is conforming to the county's 2030 master plan, and county staff recommends approval.
Any questions for staff? Seeing
Where are
none?
the public utilities there? How close are they?
Well, it has public water, I know.
Okay, it does.
Because the plat that we'll review in just a bit, the Wentzville Fire Protection District commented that the fire hydrants that they're proposing will meet the minimum 600-foot distance.
So it
requirement.
has water.
Yeah.
This
no,
also
sir.
says it has sewer from city of Wentzville service area. Would they have to be incorporated into Wentzville to get that?
Yes, typically, yes.
I thought that, yeah.
And what's Winsfield's opinion on this? Have they given any opinion at all?
We have a letter from the Wentzville Fire Protection District. I didn't see a letter in the file from the city of Wentzville.
I didn't see one
The
either.
municipal boundaries are right across the street, across Highway N. They haven't annexed yet south of Highway N, yeah, if you want to put that up. I don't know if their annexation plans include that area south of Highway N. I'm not sure.
Any additional questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yeah, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles Wardle. I'm a civil engineer at Bax Engineering. My address is 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles, Missouri, 63301.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
This is actually all right. These houses that we're talking about rezoning is consistent with the 2030 master plan, 1 to 4 units per acre. It's also going to act as a buffer between the city of Wentzville and St. Charles County because it is on the south side of Highway N. We do have public water going to, but we currently do not have public sewer, so they are going to be individual septics on these plots.
And how many lots again are you putting in?
8.
8.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
What, I guess, in terms of access, there will be access on N, but because of what Robert was saying, it's, at that point, it's not in the main corridor of the widening area, so.
No, sir, and we also.
How will that, I mean, the piece of ground, as I recall, slopes fairly quickly away from N going south.
Yes, sir.
What will you do in terms of safety for access to the subdivision to N?
We will have a 2% grade coming into the subdivision and going down to a higher grade as you get deeper in.
Okay.
But we also have a line of sight based on the speed of the road. And I do believe the speed of the road for Highway N is 50 miles right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, I don't know off the top of my head, I don't want to throw out numbers, but I want to say it's 300 feet right and 300 feet left that you have to have as you're sitting at the stop sign from the development to Highway N, you have to have 300 feet line of sight right, 300 feet line of sight left.
So the first part of it is the areas you're accessing, and it's just a 2% grade?
It's going to be a 2% downslope.
And how far back does that go? Is that like 50 feet?
That goes back 50 feet.
Are most of the homes in the area on 5+ acres, though?
Most of the homes in the area, the average lot size for the area is going to be 3.82 acres per home.
In
But
your
surrounding,
development?
in your development, but what about surrounding areas? Aren't most of the homes 5+ acres?
Most of the homes around there aren't developed right now. There's some empty lots. Across Highway N is a smaller development. There are homes to the west that are between 3 and 5 acres.
Looking at most of these are all, in the homes are all 5+ acres for the most part, just looking at the aerial view. Which is consistent with that area. And you're saying your average lot size is gonna be what?
3.82 acres per lot.
Okay, so, why not just the 5 acres and stay within that district then? The agricultural district? Is it basically one more home, two more homes is what it is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
We will now open the public hearing for application RZ 22-03, which is a rezoning request of a 38.27 acre parcel from A agricultural district to 5 acre minimum lot size to RR single family residential district 3 acre minimum lot size, located west of Morgan Meadow Drive on the south side of West Highway Inn. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this application? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings, or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ronnie Rapay. I live at 732 West Highway Inn on Wentzville. And this lot that they're wanting to build, I have 3 acres, and that little cutout that they were showing there, well, that's my property. So, and that road right now is dangerous as it is, because coming east on Highway N, my grandkids, I have them get picked up on the lower driveway because I want to protect them and the other kids on the buses that I'm on the corner, because they come around that corner at 50, 60 miles an hour. And time you decide you see the bus, you're already on top of it. So I had them pick it up below. If they put, what they're showing here is 1 to 4 residents or buildings on a 1 acre, that means that they're gonna have to change this whole area over in Wentzville City. I moved out there 22 years ago, and to get out, I wanted to get away from the city, and then probably 6 months or so after we moved out there, a subdivision started growing down in the lower area in front of me on the north side. And then just recently, the gentleman sold his property, which is just north of that, or west of him, and they're tearing that up. Now, they're wanting to come over and build another subdivision right around me, totally wrap me up. It's just, I moved out in the county to get away from everything, but they're just, my question, I don't understand too, I mean, I know you guys don't have an answer to that. All these businesses that are saying they're looking for employees, who's buying all these homes? That I don't understand. And I mean, there's 3 or 4 other places in my area that's building homes. Who's buying these things? I mean, unless either employees are lying that they can't get employees, or companies are lying they can't get employees, or I don't know who's buying all these houses. But I'm all for development, and I expected this to happen, anyway, because I knew the Adams and that, but they need to keep these at least 3 acres, if not 5 acre lots.
It's 5 acres now, and they're asking for 3.
Right, but down below here it says,
That's the master plan.
That's the master plan.
okay.
But that's
right.
not what they're requesting for this.
Okay, so
So they can't put 1 to 4.
Okay. Well, I like it if they could, keep them at least at 5. You know, Wentzville's a great place to live. We like it out there. But, you know, like I said, we're building more and more homes out there, and you're tearing down the trees and everything else. And we, you know, have all deers and different animals visit our backyard, and that's all gonna go by the wayside if that happens, so. And that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Craig Berg, I'm at 1 Woodbridge Creek Drive in Wentzville.
Okay, go ahead, Craig.
I'm within 1,000 feet of the property, as you see the pond on the subject property. I'm just the little odd-shaped, kind of triangular-looking one next to that. My neighbor has 11 acres. He couldn't be here tonight. I thought he would be here as well. He and I have had to deal with water erosion from the creek that resides there, so that is a major concern as far as additional development of the property. We also hunt and have a gun range on the property, so it's a concern for going to an incorporated area versus unincorporated. I've been a resident of Wentzville for the last 20 years. 12 of them I lived in Stone Meadows, which is a large development. My wife and I and family personally wanted to move out of a development so that we could have serenity, peace, and quiet. We do have 3 acres. I was under the same impression as the prior gentleman that this was looking at possibly a 1 to 4 dwellings per acre, so I'm happy to hear that this is not. Seeing as though I do have a 3-acre property, very close, I don't have a problem with necessarily 3 acres. My bigger concern is that the builder of my home is right at the front, right off of Highway N, and I'm not sure what the sewer plan is, but it sounds as though it would have to go through our property. We currently have a septic. We've also just had to put in a new road out of our own personal funds because we are unincorporated. So my neighbor and I spent $30,000 on a new asphalt road. So I'd like to understand what the sewer plan is. Water is available already. Also, some of the other concerns are reduced property value, the noise levels associated, any easements for the utilities, as I just mentioned, potentially increased crime rates, et cetera, just some of the things that other folks have said tonight, even for the other zoning issue that was previously discussed. The wildlife impact as far as the hunting, and we also have a pond for fishing between our neighbor properties. That's all I had to share.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon, 63366. Could one of you guys please pull up the diagram that would be the actual houses that have been placed on Catherine Cove Drive? Like a flyover this year, maybe?
Okay. You
Like
want
an aerial?
Aerial?
Aerial, there you go. So if you look at this picture here, the current aerial, I'm not sure what year this was taken. I don't see.
2020.
2020, so it's recent. If you look at the density, you count 16 homes on Catherine Cove. And basically, if my math is right or correct, it looks to me that there's at least 10 or 11 homes per acre is the density there.
Per acre?
Yeah, there's at least 10 homes per acre. Unless I'm totally wrong.
That wouldn't go with I don't think that's,
Oh, he's talking right there.
I'm talking about a Catherine Cove.
Yeah, it's in the city of Wentzville.
yeah, that's the city of Wentzville, so they'd have different regulations
Yeah,
probably.
but that'd be pretty accurate, right? 10 to
haven't done
11
the math.
homes? Okay.
So I don't know.
So as you could see, directly across the street from this property, you could see where there's really dense homes. So I feel, again, this is responsible growth. There's public water and public sewer that's available.
There's not public sewer yet. I don't think, is there?
No.
No.
It's available. I mean, if they annex this property to the city of Wentzville, they can get automatic
Yeah,
wastewater.
If they do.
Yeah. So our comprehensive calls for along Highway N, as you know, that's the dividing corridor. Highway N, it calls for 3-acre lots. I feel this is responsible growth. It seems like a plan that's doable. It's a compromise between what the residents want and what the desire of the market is. Again, the comprehensive plan says you can go 1 to 4 per acre. If they annex to the city of Wentzville, they could go, obviously, 10 or 11 per acre. So I would ask that you unanimously approve this plan. It seems reasonable to me, it seems like a compromise, and it seems like the best deal for everybody involved. So, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing no one, we will close the public hearing for RZ 22-03. Ask the applicant to come back. Any questions for the applicant?
In terms of I assume then all the properties would have septic systems at this point.
Yes, sir.
And again, with the steepness of the ground, is there some kind of regulations, like, because a lot of that is just going to be flowing downhill?
Yes, DNR has already gone out and done their study, and we are at 0.92 acres per septic.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
To talk about the traffic that was mentioned, we are giving a 10-foot easement to MoDOT if they ever do want to widen this part of Highway N. I know Highway N is moving further south, but we are giving a 10-foot easement to MoDOT if they ever do decide to widen this part. Also, regarding traffic, when Highway N does move, the traffic on this road will be reduced. So adding these 8 homes really isn't going to impact that, since Highway N is going to be moving further south. We are maintaining a buffer to, now if I say it wrong, I'm sorry, Parkway Creek is a tributary to that area on the south part of our land. We are keeping a 50-foot buffer for that creek for this part. And I know they talked about home values too, but our developer is talking about putting $1 million homes on these lots, so reducing the home value is really not going to be a problem with the size of homes that are going to be placed on here.
So if you put $1 million home, most $1 million homeowners want 5 acres versus 3?
I have a half acre and I have $1 million.
So I would say no if he has a half acre for $1 million home.
But you don't live in the middle of nowhere.
Pretty
At one
close.
time, you probably did.
Yeah.
This is not in the middle of nowhere anymore.
True, true.
Any other questions for the applicant? You have anything, brother?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, we'll bring RZ 22-03 back to the commission for consideration. Any questions, comments? Questions of staff?
I have a question for the staff. I know you and I personally have talked, Robert, about the situation down in New Melly that's happened a couple times with the minor subdivision platting that could potentially occur. And currently, right now, they wouldn't even need to come to this commission to go put 6 houses in. They could start bulldozing trees tomorrow and do whatever they wanted to do, divide it up how they wanted to divide it up, I guess. But if we move this to rural residential from agricultural, it comes with some restrictions, if I'm not mistaken, that now they've got to follow some guidelines that are in place for rural residential. So we're talking the difference of 2 homes, but while we're talking the difference of 2 homes, we're also talking about some more restrictions that the development has to go through. So to me, that seems like it may be something that we ought to consider instead of just letting them currently willy-nilly do it themselves right now. Am I thinking about that right?
Well, under the current agricultural zoning, as long as you have lots 5 acres or more, we have a administrative plat approval process called a minor subdivision plat. You can have unpaved streets. You can have, it doesn't even have to be a street. Honestly, it can be a driveway as long as there's an easement that all the lots touch an easement. It's usually, these minor subdivision plats have minimal infrastructure. So that would be allowed under the A zoning or 5 acre lots. If you go to 3 acre zoning, which is this is proposing, it does come with some other changes to processes. For instance, any plat has to be a regular plat that comes to this body and approved by this body first. Second, it has to have paved streets. Third, those streets have to be built to public standards. So there's some things like that where there's some differences between the two.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve RZ 22-03, which is the rezoning of 38.27 acres from A agricultural 5 acre minimum lot size to RR single family residential district 3 acre minimum lot size. The area is located at 1,150 feet west of Morgan Meadow Drive on the south side of the West Highway End, adjacent to the city of Wentzville.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Clary. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Barr made the second. Mr. Shell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
No.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Whew. Now we've done the preliminary plats. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the preliminary plat for the re-subdivision of Oak Knoll Estate Lot 2, located at 2 Oak Knoll Lane. The application is PRE 22-01. Property owner is Shannon L. Nardi. Applicant developer is John Iacovelli for Iacovelli and Sons LLC. The engineer is Sterling Engineering and Surveying Company. The proposed lot is 1. The area is 3.529 acres. It is on the south side of Oak Knoll Lane, approximately 600 feet from west of Jacobs Station Road, located in Council District 7. Staff.
So the applicant is proposing on creating one additional lot out of Lot 2 of Oak Knoll subdivision. They're going to split the lot roughly in half to allow for 2 building sites on this lot. This lot is served by all utilities, and we have not received any letters or comments on this property.
Any questions for staff?
So it's going to be 2 homes on 3.51 acres?
Correct.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll ask the applicant to come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Iacovelli. I live at 12145 St. Clement, DePere, Missouri, 63131.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so basically, I mean, that's it. So we found a piece of property that is 3.5 acres, and it has a frontage of 392 feet with a subdivision minimum of 125 feet. So I would like to split it in half and build 2 houses on this piece of property. Both properties already have a buyer attached to them, so it's not anything about selling them. They'll have homes immediately occupied.
Any question for the applicant? Hearing none, thank you, sir. Anyone wishing to Well, now open the public hearing for PRE 22-01, which is the re-subdivision of Oak Knoll Estates Lot Number 2. Anyone wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm you to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is Arnie C., A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. It's a reasonable request. I ask unanimous approval, and that's all I have to say.
What does the C stand for?
Not going to tell you.
Because he doesn't know, or no?
Anyone else want to speak regarding PRE 22-01, the re-subdivision of Lot 2 of Oak Knoll Estates? Anyone? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Anyone have any questions for the applicants? Chair will entertain a motion to approve PRE 22-01. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Second.
Quick on that one.
Yeah. Ms. Barr, how do you vote?
Wearing down.
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Now we're down to, okay. Next on the agenda is a preliminary plat for Quail Ridge. This is application number PRE 22-02. Property owner is Steepleview Farm LLC. The applicant is K. Andrew Weber, authorized agent. The developer is Michael McMenamy. The engineer is Bax Engineering Company. The current zoning is A Agricultural District, 5-acre minimum lot size. Requested zoning RR Single Family Residential District, 3-acre minimum lot size. Proposed lots are 22. The area is 71.613 acres. The location is on the west side of Firemouse Road, approximately 3,650 feet north of Highway P, near the cities of St. Paul and Josephville, located in Council District 1. Staff.
This is the preliminary plat that accompanied the rezoning request on Firemouse that was recommended for denial. This is a 22-lot subdivision that will take access off of Firemouse Road. It will provide a paved street built to county standards in the middle here, and all the lots will take access from that. Let's see here. The development will be located in the northwest portion of the property. Let me see. I should have. Going to be located approximately from about this location over to about here, just to give you a scale on the property so that you can see what size of the subdivision we're talking about. And we have received, let's see, what is this? It was one letter of opposition to the project.
Any questions for staff?
Has traffic taken a look at the curb cut, and it's in a location that works, and I guess is that part of the reason why I'm looking at right-of-way dedication being requested on this?
Yeah, the right-of-way dedication is there because of the transportation master plan. So when we see the dedicated portion, we always ask the developer for that. And then, yeah, the highway department has had an opportunity to review, and they have not made any comment.
So I think some people want to know if we denied the other, why we're looking at this, if you want to explain to them.
The county council has final word. Our vote was just a recommendation. So the county council can override our recommendation on the zoning request. Okay, so the county council can decide to grant the rezoning request. And then once assuming it was rezoned, then what we're considering now is the preliminary plat. How is it going to be divided, the lots, and what are the entrance, and is there sufficient rooms for emergency vehicles and school buses and those types of things to turn around, and stormwater runoff, water quality standards, tree preservation, that's things we consider in this preliminary plat. But we don't consider those in the rezoning request, okay? So we go ahead and look at this plat just in case if the county council decides to grant the rezoning. And then we would already given a recommendation on the plat. So.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Everything's fine in here then? Okay, thank you.
You might all be hungry, maybe somebody wants pizza.
Call you later.
I don't know, very confused.
Oh.
Security alarm got triggered. I got the notification because I work in this building too.
Somebody accidentally hit a security
It
or
accidentally
panic
got triggered,
alarm,
so they have to come up and check on that, so.
Robert, you're not in trouble.
Okay. Now we know how to get out of these meetings early.
Where is that button on your body?
Okay, back to, let's see, where am I at on this here?
So you were explaining to them
Yeah.
why we're still doing this, even
Yeah.
though we,
Now we've got the applicants come back.
yeah.
Okay, now we'll have the applicants come forward. Got the SWAT team coming in here, sort of got me befuddled.
These meetings don't usually get that exciting.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Jeff Simmons, Bax Engineering, 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles.
Okay. Questions? One of my concerns is how this proposal would work with if the other 320 acres is developed.
Yeah, the flow.
Well, this is a single cul-de-sac with lots around it, so any other development in that area would have to be off of another entrance. We'd have to put another entrance off of Freymouth.
Okay.
Beyond that, we do, if it does get passed with the council, we do meet all of the requirements of the RR 3-acre zoning. We meet the turning radiuses for school buses and fire and all that, and entrance site distance along Freymouth as well.
So if the other 320 acres was developed, would that also be entrance off of Firemouse?
I wasn't aware that there was a part of the property that touched Eisenbath, so I suppose it could go off of, part of it could be off of Eisenbath, part of it could be off of Freymouth, or maybe both, I'm not sure.
Any questions for the applicant?
Is there going to be lights in the subdivision on the roads?
Not necessarily, I don't believe in 3 acres, I don't think they're
I just didn't know if you were
required.
planning on putting any in.
I don't believe so.
Is there any, for staff, any water features on this? Any water runoff concerns that we?
So I don't know about runoff concerns, but we do have 2 areas that will require the county buffer, the required natural water course buffer. One's along the northern edge, a portion of the northern edge of the property, and one runs through a portion of the southern lots. And it's shown on a drawing a little further down, maybe sheet form 5.
Yeah, it's hatched, yeah.
That's sheet 5.
So what's sheet 4? So up in the northern section, I guess it's not shown there, but you can kind of see a draw coming down through those southern lots right there and running actually left through the, I think it's 4 lots right there. Stop.
Here.
Yeah, that area.
Okay, any other?
Where was that, gentleman earlier said there was a berm put along there, what lots are what the berm is?
I'm not familiar, but I believe he said that was on the southern property line, and that's, well south of what.
That's part of the 320.
He was not talking about this.
No, it's of the southern property line of the larger tract.
Okay.
Right.
Robert, what is the requirement to have number of homes to have two entrances?
Well, the fire code, anything more than 100 homes has to have at least two entrances. Now, the county's code does require that streets be carried to the far property line so it can connect. But although that's not a hard and fast rule, honestly, because when you have private streets, you can't require private streets to tie into,
Yeah.
public streets, but.
That's another question. Was this be public or private streets?
It's anticipated at this point to be public.
So that means that you'd have to cut through somebody's property to connect it to the rest of the property?
Well, it means that often you'll see streets that dead end on the property line so that when the neighboring adjoining property is developed, that they can tie into that.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, the block length is just short of the maximum block length. So one way to deal with it, if you're over the maximum block length, is put into that stub street into the property line, but in this case, they're just short of that maximum block length.
Yeah, I mean, we had that, back in November, October, November, where when it was off of Towers, Robert, where the 140 acres and the
Yeah.
dead ends, yeah.
Yeah.
And the expert realtors, somebody told him years ago that ground never be sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, there you
Surprise,
go.
here's another road.
You might be listening to that.
Yeah.
So but if you've got, so you're saying, I'm a little confused, are you saying there would not be, if they develop the rest, they would not tie into this road? Or they could, because whose property there would you go through? Is there an easement on this to connect through somebody else's property that they're currently buying the lot?
The way this is designed, you cannot connect. It's just a dead end cul-de-sac.
This is independent of itself. My concern was if you develop the other 320, then instead of so we had this one entrance and exit, and now if you do the other 320, then you may have at least two, and where there's not a lot of room for that many entrance and exits.
Yeah, if you have a big pattern of these standalone pod developments, I'll call them, where everything is cul-de-sacs coming off the main road, you don't have a lot of circulation from neighborhood to neighborhood. Everyone has to get off onto the main roadway in order to get anywhere. So that's a concern for like an overall pattern, development pattern.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Is there an easement buffer around this property?
There's no buffer, however, your building setbacks are 50 feet in this, so there's not going to be anything within 50 feet.
Any other questions? Not? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing for PRE 22-02, which is a preliminary plat for Quail Ridge. Anyone interested in speaking in this public hearing?
So you did a very, very good job explaining the difference between the two, by the way.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
So I'm Michael Talbot again. We live at 3145 Noel Lane. It's right at the corner of Eisenbath and Noel. Just touch on a couple things with everything I said from the earlier thing. I don't for a second believe that they have not discussed developing this whole thing, which he stated earlier. Just a reminder, we're swearing perjury here. So I don't buy that for a second. There's nobody that's doing a development that's this large that's not considering their options for later. They've already put a gate in down at Noel and or down at Eisenbath in the corner right there to access the backside of the property. That's where they intend another road to come out. That's the way it looks like it's been developed, the way they graded it and everything else. Couple of things too, concerned just with the actual plat plan. The traffic flow is gonna really mess up Guthrie and all that when you have everybody coming out into Freemouth and all that. There's no other cut throughs. It's not well designed. My concern's also with lighting, if the council would override your guys' recommendations. And, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Somebody up here the earlier touched on why this was a bigger hot button issue than it was down south. This is not directed at anybody, or tend to come off as abrasive. Sometimes it's not my intention. Up there where we're dealing with, we're all sharing the same water. If anybody pollutes, if their septic system doesn't work, if a well runs dry, I think when we bought our property, I think to have a well replaced, or if you have to drill it deeper, you're talking $15,000 to $25,000 or $30,000. It's not a small expense or anything like that. If their well's open, it contaminates that aquifer, it affects everybody. That's why it's really, really important to most of us that are up here, and just the traffic and all the other stuff. It's not that we don't want development out there or anything like that. We want it to be smart. We want it to be done the way it's supposed to be. We don't have city water. We don't have city sewer. Like I said, everything that somebody else does on their property tends to affect us. And that watershed, all the creeks and everything that runs through, everything, a lot of the farmers that are out there are real considerate with their chemical use and all that stuff, because it affects them too. When people that come in there and they don't understand kind of how the ecosystem works out there, we get people to throw tires and stuff off the side of the road into the creek, and we have to clean all that stuff up. So what one person does affects us. It's a big difference. And I've been very blessed in my life to work a really cool job where I get to deal with people who have absolutely nothing, are homeless and criminals, and people that are just down their luck, people that have millions of dollars and are super successful in multi-million-dollar homes. You take a little bit and what you can learn from everybody else. Just please, thank you for listening to us earlier, and please just listen when people have concerns. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in this public hearing for application PRE 22-02? Oh. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tina Talbot, 3145 Noel Lane, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63366. A lot of my concerns that I want to address are the same things that I said earlier about making the lots smaller and I agree that I don't think for one second that we're talking about a corner piece of this property. It is a very large piece of property, and this is up in the right-hand corner of the square. Eisenbath is at the very bottom of this square. There's no reason why we needed to put a large entrance with posts and everything.
Ma'am, I hate to cut you off, it's getting late. In this plat, we're talking about entrance and exits.
Yeah, but my point
and
is,
roadways and runoff and those types of things, okay?
I think that we're talking about several different entrances along Freemouth, though, and that's a road that cannot handle that. That was my point was. But a lot of my concerns I already stated earlier, and I just would like you to take it all into consideration, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or in the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address for the record.
Jim Hairston, 135 Kirstein Farms Drive, O'Fallon, Missouri, 63366.
Go ahead, Jim.
I did like the point you brought up about the circle at the end. The street I live on has 2 or 3 of those, and the very last one in my subdivision, the bus cannot turn around. So those are things that they need to be concerned about, the size of that circle. And then, again, like she said, they're going to develop the rest of that. One thing I really did like, I want to comment, is about the street. I live on a private street, and it's the worst street in St. Charles County. We have been paying for the last 10 years to put concrete in, take asphalt out. So half my road is concrete, half my road is asphalt. We did go through the process about having it taken over, but it would take about, I think the estimate was right around $450,000 to bring the road up to county code so we could turn it over. These roads need to be roads that are not private. They need to be public roads that are done correctly and that, people won't have a problem with in the future.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
promise I'll make this fast.
You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings and the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. My name is Arnie A.C. Dienoff, public advocate, mainly addressed P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. First of all, I want to make sure that the runoff is addressed properly, that we address the erosion issues, and with our new codified code with water retention detention, we want to make sure that that's fulfilled 100%. I also would like to offer up on the traffic solutions for traffic safety. I do believe that with this large development, that you need to put a condition on the preliminary plan with a acceleration, deceleration lane. Wherever the entrances might land or be on the final plan, I think that this will address a lot of the issues. And finally, I want to address the commission in terms of staff, and I would like to ask you to change your policy. I ask for this over and over, and we come to the same issue every month. Where are our partner letters? Again, I don't see it on the part of the packet. Any correspondence from the Fort Zumwalt School District, those two elementary schools, Flint Hill and the other one on Highway P, they're full to capacity. But I don't see any letters from the Transportation Department of the Fort Zumwalt School District or from the Superintendent's Office. The second important thing is I don't see a letter from the Chief or the Fire Marshal of the O'Fallon Fire Protection District, and it's very concerning to me that we're not bringing in our partners when we're talking about the planning stages. Mr. Cornwell worked for the City of O'Fallon as a planner. He's very aware of what the City of O'Fallon does, and they bring in all the partners, and all those things are mandated before it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just wish that this commission would change its rules and mandate staff to gather those documents so we have it, so we know what's going on, that our partners are part of the solution and part of the development. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Are you asking us to require certain people to write letters, even if they choose not to?
Our governmental partners,
Like the fire department saying. So we're supposed to go to the fire department and require them to write letters?
not required, but give them the opportunity.
Well, they can now, I think. Already have the opportunity?
I don't think they were notified of this process,
Okay.
this particular
I was
application.
just trying to figure out what exactly you were advocating for. That's all.
Well, I know I called the O'Fallon Fire Protection District, and they had no idea about this proposed development. They were not notified by the county.
So you're not, you're advocating that we notify them?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing for PRE 22-02? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Quail Ridge, application PRE 22-02. The current zoning is A agricultural district, 5 acre minimum lot size. The requested zoning is RR single family residential district, 3 acre minimum lot size. There's 71.6 acres with a proposed 22 lots. And this is located on the west side of Firemouse Road, approximately 3,650 feet north of Highway P, near the cities of St. Paul and Josephville. For the record, this commission turned down the request for the rezoning. So now we're voting on the preliminary plat. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the preliminary plat?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Cleary, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Shell?
No.
Where am I at here? Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Have I got everybody but me? And I.
Nope.
There we go, Ms. Bamer.
No.
And I vote yes, so we have a 4-4.
What's that? Yeah, motion fails. It's not a.
It fails, yeah, it's not a majority.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see now. The final item on our agenda is preliminary plat for Auden Hollow, located 800 West Highway End. The application is PRE 22-03. The property owner is Adams Family Residence Trust and Alfred K. Adams. The applicant developer is Auden Development. The engineer is Bax Engineering Company. Current zoning is agricultural district, 5-acre minimum lot size. Requested zoning is RR Single Family Residential District, 3-acre minimum lot size. Proposed lots are 8. The area is 31.934 acres. Location is 1,150 feet west of Morgan Meadow Drive on the south side of West Highway N, adjacent to the city of Wentzville, located in Council District 2. Staff.
Very quickly, things to point out, this proposed subdivision would have public water and fire hydrants for fire protection, but would not have public sewer. So it would be on-site sanitary sewage disposal. I would note that one lot has an existing lake. They would propose to remain, or pond, I should say, Lot 2. So any of the on-site, the drain field for the septic would have to meet the setback requirements from that lake. The water course in the back will be protected by vegetative buffer, at least 25 feet off the top of the bank on both sides. The one thing that I would like to mention, excuse me, that is kind of a remainder and would need to be addressed. Should this plat be approved, there's a sliver of land, it looks like, that would be a leftover in the northwest corner, and that would be less than the 5 acres. So I think what we'd have to do in order for me to approve this plat, I think we'd have to have a minor subdivision plat that I have to sign at the same time that would combine this leftover remainder piece with the neighboring property. That's the way I'm reading it.
Robert, on that one with the lot on it, the lake on it, excuse me, is that a developable lot?
Yes.
Pardon?
It is developable,
Okay, I thought
yeah.
that's what you were saying, but the lake will all be contained on that lot. Okay.
Right, yeah, the drain field for the septic will have to meet the setback requirements from water bodies.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
So you're talking about it says property Adams Family Residence, let's see, what's this item number?
Yeah, I'm
Page
reading
9.
that to be a remainder slice, like triangular piece.
Correct. So what are you saying with that, we're gonna have to do with that?
Well, since that would be less than the minimum lot size, I believe, for that zoning district, isn't that right?
So,
Yeah, then I think that would have to be combined with the property next door at the same time, through a minor subdivision plat process.
could be done through quitclaim deed too.
Quitclaim deed, you think? Okay, because it's never been platted before.
So put it into lot 7?
Well, no, it would go into the lot there to the left.
Yeah, to the left.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we rezoned that, correct?
No, we just rezoned the portion that's shown here in the plat.
Okay.
Just this portion here that's in the plat.
Yeah, there's, the rezoning boundary, for whatever reason, didn't follow the lot boundaries. It's slicing across the corners of like 3 lots, the zoning boundary did.
Let's see here, the rezoning was 38.27 acres, and I think the overall is like 39-something acres. So it was just shy of the full.
I guess we can ask the applicant why that was when they come up.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Any more?
No.
Okay. Ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles Wardle. I work at Bax Engineering. Address is 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles, Missouri, 63301.
Go ahead, sir.
What questions do you have?
So why the slice?
The slice? So the slice, that slice and the piece of property next to it was going to be combined to make a 5-acre lot.
Okay.
So we are going to do, once we get this approved, we're going to come back and put that 5 acres for agricultural.
And how are you going to access that?
It's going to be accessed off a highway in.
Okay, just on that little sliver that's at the top there?
No, it's going to be that sliver plot there, the plot to the left of it, that's owned by Alfred Adams, and the plot below it, that's owned by Alfred Adams. Those three are going to be combined into a 5-acre plot.
So, and you had to sliver that off in order to have access, not
I had
to
to
go
get-
through the other? Okay,
yes.
that makes sense. All right.
And I had to bring that all the way down to the cul-de-sac so I could get water to it.
Yeah,
That's
that
also why
makes-
we did
that
it, so we
makes
could get
sense.
water up to that 5 acres.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Arnie's worried about the sheriffs being out there.
Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now open the public hearing for PRE 22-03.
Did you say there's 10
Preliminary
cop
plat
cars out
for
there?
Auden Hollow. You solemnly swear or affirmally to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. These proceedings are under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. I ask you, do you approve this preliminary plat? Makes sense. The only thing that I'm missing is the partner letters from the water district, the sewer, because it's going to be septic, and our other partners, the Wentzville Fire Protection District, and of course, the Wentzville School District is bursting at the seams. Although this is a small development, it's going to have a small impact. But you add all these small impacts, and we're going to have another elementary school in this region. So again, I ask that you change your policy and that you mandate that staff make sure that we involve all of our partners, give them the voluntary access to be part of the solution, to offer up comments, and to put letters on file if they desire. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in this public hearing for PRE 22-03? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission for consideration. Anyone have any additional comments for the applicant?
You're good.
You're good. Chair will entertain a motion to approve PRE 22-03, which is a preliminary plat for Auden Hollow, located 800 West Highway Inn. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Cleary made the motion, Ms. Barry made the second. Mr. Cornwell?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Cleary?
Yes.
And I vote yes, it passes. Okay, next, we have no continued items. The next thing on our agenda is the approval of the November 17th, 2021 minutes. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the November 17th, 2021 minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the January 19th, 2022 Planning and Zoning meeting minutes.
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. Motion and second to approve the January 19, 2022 meeting minutes. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved. Planning and Zoning Division updates.
There better not be any.
There's 10 cop cars out there saying why.
One question that I have is whether or not you all use your paper Unified Development Ordinance books, or whether you use more or the online version. The reason I'm asking is we prepare, the paper version for everyone, but we're considering, scaling back on that, but we don't want to do so if you're using those paper versions. So you don't have to let me know tonight. You could just let us know, email or whatever, but if you have a preference on that. If you don't have a preference, we'll still keep doing what we're doing, but we'll kind of do
Kill
both.
some trees.
I use my.
I mean, I printed off the whole thing. If that gives you any indication, I printed off the whole agenda today.
Did you? Okay.
But I had to read it.
Right.
I go through it all.
Just so you'll know, we have a lot of openings in the planning division, so we're on television now. I will let the world know that we have openings for Planner 2, Planner 3, Senior Planner, and Land Use Manager, all at St. Charles County. So if you know of anyone who might be interested in working for St. Charles County, we have those planner openings advertised right now.
Can I apply?
Is there any?
Do you have to have any experience?
Do you have to
No,
be able to
it's
read and write?
required. It's-
Pretty much you're gonna just train
Do you have
them.
any
Yeah,
idea
but-
of what
Do they
listening
pay
loss
like
units
the other
is
county
right now?
jobs?
I would say if you want to know about the minimum requirements, you can look online for each of those positions.
I have a 50-year-old civil engineering degree.
I bet you their education and experience combined would somehow meet the minimum requirements. I don't know.
If it pays anything like the other county jobs.
Planner 2, not Planner 3.
Anyway.
I want to let you know that we're going to update our policy on the fireworks stand concept plans, because somewhere along the way, we've kind of gotten off track. I think that the drawings are not very good. And so we want to improve those so that people understand what's going on with the fireworks stand CUPs. The last thing I want to mention is letters. We always send out letters to all the utilities and all the agencies that might be involved, and we keep a list of those. In fact, we make a matrix for every application. We make sure we're sending them to everyone. But one thing in particular I've heard dozens of times, and that has to do with school districts. In 25 or 30 years, I've never received a letter from a school district saying, don't approve this because we don't have enough room in a school. They just don't do it. I mean, usually what their comments are about school buses. They want to be able to turn around the end of a cul-de-sac, and if they can't, they won't go down that cul-de-sac. That's basically how they respond. But they will never respond, in my experience at least, that they will never respond with, don't approve this because we don't have enough room in the schools.
But to be clear, you send a letter to all of
Yeah.
our partners.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't.
I think we've talked about this several times at the
Yeah.
meetings, and we keep wanting to say it over. So, Mr. Dnr, we do send letters. So if you.
Yeah, can we have a matrix that says these are all the
Yeah.
utilities that were notified, even if we don't get a letter?
We can talk about that. I mean, I don't know, it's just another thing to put in the packet.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
You just have
you
like
could just
one
ask-
sentence
it
in
says-
the staff recommendations is that
All of
all the utilities
government-
and government were notified.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It could be a standard sentence.
Not doing the actual letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I may do an informal little late update, maybe too little, too late update, yes, they've installed new security and panic buttons and things like that in the building. There's apparently, I kind of spoke with Joanne here, there's apparently one up at the dais somewhere, and there's one over at that desk over there, so.
Did we accidentally hit it
I don't
somehow?
know, perhaps, but I just wanted to make everyone cognizant of it for next time.
Are you worried? Are you worried?
On the table, just put them up here.
Is it under the, is it on
And
the,
that way you won't activate.
I mean, honestly, so we don't hit them again?
We'll learn more by next time.
We're on the budget.
Give me a big
They don't even know where they are.
Wait.
How are we supposed to?
We're not done yet.
Okay, we're not done.
Sit down.
Don't we still have to?
Are you done? Okay.
What? No,
That's it.
We gotta adjourn, right?
Yes.
no, we,
I thought, okay.
Motion to adjourn?
yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm so tired.
It's not even 10 o'clock.